and a welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Happy to be here with you, hanging out where sports truly meets that thing called life. I hope you're having yourselves a wonderful morning this morning as we are here inside these Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Great Lakes Honda City coming to you on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. They are open for sales and service. All you have to do Monday through Saturday is head off to 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York, and get in touch with them on site, on location. You can also go to Great Lakes Honda City at any given time, greatlakeshondacity.com. That is greatlakeshondacity.com. Easy to remember. The full name of the location is the name of where you need to go. So make sure you head there today, and we thank everybody that does. Inside of these Great Lakes Honda City Studios, we're with you up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around the globe on YouTube.com and Facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, and on WakeUpCallDT.podbean.com. So however you're connected with the show, we thank you for being with us Monday through Friday, inside of our 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern time. And of course, under promise, over deliver. We typically stay with you a lot longer. Appreciate your patience here this morning. I am rocking a jersey that I've had for a very long time. That is my Syracuse and as soon as I saw it, I'm like, man, I didn't realize how much I missed it till I missed it. It's the jagged Syracuse, the cut with the S that they used to have with Nike, my Syracuse 3 jersey. This just so happens to be the jersey that marks the time period of Mr. Gerry McNamara. Back when I was getting jerseys, there was no NIL, so we couldn't have Jerry's name on the jersey, but this is very much Gerry McNamara's jersey, and very happy to be rocking it today, as today is the day that Mr. McNamara is going to be officially sworn in, I'll call it, as the new head coach of the Syracuse Orange men's basketball team. So excited for Gerry and excited to be here with you to talk about it and discuss everything that's going on here with Syracuse basketball as we step forward. His press conference is going to be at 4 p.m. Eastern time today. And of course, I will be there for this press conference. By the grace of God, I will be there on site, on location, for Gerry's welcome back and welcome in as the head coach of the Syracuse Orange men's basketball team. Once again, that is today, Monday, March 30th at 4 p.m. Eastern time. So Murph and I are going to be talking about Gerry returning to Syracuse. That's where we'll start. We'll also get into Major League Baseball as we're still in Week 1 and haven't fully completed Week 1, which technically started on Wednesday of last week with one game that happened. The Giants on Netflix. Then we had a full slate that was on television and a really cool moment that happened with the Arizona Diamondbacks and Dodgers. If you follow me on social media, you saw on my story on Instagram at WakeUpCallDT the very interesting way that Freddie Freeman went out with Ketel Marte, tagging him in an interesting and a really cool way that shows that, you know, it is, at the end of the day, just a game. And even though your adversary's on the field, you can still have some fun. So we'll talk about that. And then we'll get into the NCAA tournament. And Murph and I will assess the road to the Final Four, what that journey has looked like, who is there, are we shocked, are we not shocked that it will feature UConn, a 2 seed, Illinois, a 3 seed, facing off against each other in the East versus the South, respectively. And then we will see the West versus the Midwest, Arizona a 1 seed and Michigan a 1 seed that will take on each other on the other side of the bracket. And that'll be coming up here in the not too distant future on the weekend that just so happens to also be Easter weekend. So with that being said, let's bring in the man of the Mondays with us, my other half, Mr. Murph. Murph, how we doing?
Doing well this morning, bud. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. I mean, there's a lot to discuss, a lot to talk about. I told Murph this morning, I was like, I have to find something that I'm going to surprise people with, and that is my GMAC jersey here. You can see how pristine it is. It's like I just got it, and it's just so nice. It's so comfy. I mean, this is, I was like, man, my parents got me a really nice Gerry McNamara jersey. So rocking the Mac today as Mac is back. and I would play Return of the Mac, but if I play but a second of it, Facebook and YouTube will be like, what are you doing? So, I mean, I would love to play it for you. If there's a rendition that's a little bit off where no attribution is required, maybe I could sneak it in. But your thoughts, Murph. Today, we will officially welcome Gerry back to Syracuse, the place where he won a national championship and 2 Big East tournament titles, and of course helped players in his more than a decade at Syracuse. He helped other players make it to the NCAA tournament by training them as an assistant coach. Now he is back for his 3rd iteration, which is head coach.
Yeah, obviously we talked a little bit about it last week before it was official. But yeah, I think this is a great thing for Syracuse to bring somebody into the building that, knows the program, that has been around the program, has won a national championship with the program as a player, has been around teams that go to the NCAA tournament as a coach. This is something they needed. Having watched this team play, seeing it in person, under Coach Autry was not pretty. It seemed as though he either lost the locker room or, guys just started doing their own thing. And, the game we were at, I'm pretty sure it was Virginia, right? Pretty sure it was Virginia.
I think it was Virginia.
I think it was Virginia. So, watching that Virginia team and watching that Syracuse team, Virginia was not better than Syracuse.
Yeah.
Syracuse stopped playing their game. They stopped shooting. They stopped passing. They just started playing defense. And not even good defense at that. They were playing offense defensively. They weren't trying to create and do the things that gave them the lead in the first half, which was shoot the 3, get the ball inside, and get yourself fouled. Right? Getting yourself to the line. They were playing it's like they were scared to get hit. I don't know where that came from. I don't know how that happened. I knew in that moment, obviously, seeing that game, and Syracuse ended up losing that game, listening to the fans that were chanting for Autry to get fired, I didn't blame them. Watching that, all I needed to see was one game. I knew that there were rumblings that people wanted him gone, and all I needed was one game, and I understood why. It's sad because Syracuse is a historic program.
Yeah.
But I will say this: they're bringing the right man in for the job. I think with his experience at Syracuse as a player and as a coach, I think ultimately that is going to be a major advantage for him. It's going to help with recruiting. It's going to help with the fans because the fans already know and love him. He's probably going to get a lot longer leash than Coach Autry had, and I think he's a guy that if he gave Jim Boeheim a call, he'd be willing to chat with him and tell him what he needs to do. I'd love to see them bring the 3-2 zone, the 2-3 zone back.
Yeah.
It was the identity of the Syracuse Orange for forever, as long as I can remember. And obviously it's not something that you commonly see in basketball anymore. It's when growing up playing high school basketball, you saw it a lot because it was tough sometimes to play man to man against guys that are bigger, faster, and stronger than you.
Yeah.
So, we'd play 2-3 zone, we'd play 3-2 zone, we'd play box and one, where somebody's playing man to man and then you leave the other four in their zone. But, Syracuse's identity was always 2-3 zone. Forever.
Yeah.
And if you do it right, and I think Gerry McNamara would be a good candidate to have them do that correctly, it's effective. You can force a lot of teams into taking shots that they don't feel that they want to take. If you got a team that's great from 3, maybe you're not going to win that game. But if you got a team that struggles from deep and you just don't let them penetrate the zone and force them to take threes that they don't want to take, you're going to win a lot of basketball games doing that. So I like I like the fact that they're bringing in a hometown guy. That they're bringing in a guy that's won at the program, that's been at the program for a long time, understands the city.
Yeah.
So I think it's a perfect fit. I really do.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you that this was the move that I wanted them to make, and I'm happy that they made it. Somebody who loves the program, somebody who knows the program, somebody who's made the program home. And I talked to Jerry's mom yesterday, and I spoke with Joyce yesterday, and she said to me, she was like, "Hey, this is on top of like everything else that people would say." She's like, "This is where his children were born. Like it's not like they're not coming home." And so there's something to be said about that too. I mean, his wife, his children, they made this home. And it's only 2 hours north of Scranton, where he's from. And the irony of how I met Gerry, we switched hometowns. So they won in 2003. I went to Marywood in August, September of 2003. He was at Syracuse until 2006. So we switched hometowns, and he came, it was 2008, after he had finished up playing for Syracuse. He came to Time Shamrock Communications in Scranton, and he just so happened to be doing a walkthrough, and I got introduced to him. And I said, "Hey, Gerry," and I told him, I said, "You came here when, I said, I came down to Scranton when you went up to Syracuse around the same time." I said, "We switched hometowns. We laughed about it." I said, "Come over to my desk." And he came over to my desk when I was working at ESPN Radio and had my show on 630, 1240, and 96.1 FM back when it was the Dan Tortora show. And I said, "I have all the logos of the teams I love at my desk." And they were in order. And at the top, was my hometown, Syracuse. And he saw that, and we talked. And that's how we met in 2008. And then we would go on to meet again a few years later when he was named an assistant coach on Jim Boeheim's staff. We got to build a relationship. We connected with each other, and on and off the air would talk. Then when he got the job at Siena, I met his mom, I met his dad, I met his wife officially, met his kids, and I got to talk with him there. So, I mean, this has been a long road of getting to know Gerry after Gerry brought something to my city with his teammates, with Josh Pace and Billy Edelin and Queth Dwaney and Craig Forth and Carmelo Anthony and Hakeem Warwick and so on and so forth, that some people thought was never going to happen. And it was the second championship of any one of my favorite teams I ever saw. 2001, my Diamondbacks, was the first championship I got to see. And 2003 was Syracuse. And I still can go back to that room. My father was sitting in his recliner. My mom was standing by the couch behind me. My dog Shady was sitting at the edge of the carpet. I was kneeling on the ground in front of the TV like I was going to go into the game. And when it was over, I looked at my mom. I looked at my dad. I remember my dad laughing like he couldn't believe it. My mom standing there like, "Did we win? Is it done?" Shady looking at me, and me just not even knowing what to say. Like, my city, my hometown. The whole world knew my hometown that day. So for Gerry to come home, this is something I've talked about. It's well documented on my social media, on my show, my thoughts, my feelings, my sentiments. This was the decision. Now, there were other coaches, Brian Hodgson of South Florida, who's now at Providence, and Josh Schertz, who was at St. Louis and extended there, from my sources close to the situation, that they were talked to, and that both of those gentlemen backed away from the table. And so Syracuse tried to go outside of the program, eventually went inside the program. I think Gerry's the right hire. I really do. Now, I spoke with Lazarus Sims about it, and the notion of, like, whoever came after Boeheim could be, like a sacrificial lamb. Because outside of Coach K to John Shire, who I got to be on the call with yesterday and talk with Cam Boozer, who gave me a fantastic answer despite a really hard moment. So thank you, Cam, for being everything that you were yesterday at a time that was very, very hard and gut-wrenching, I'm sure. I mean, besides Kate Shire, Hall of Famer to the next coach doesn't typically work. Roy Williams to Hubert didn't work. Jay Wright to, the gap in the middle, right? After Jay Wright at Villanova, there was 3 years of not getting to the tournament, not being that great of a team. There's a lot
Look
of
at Calhoun to eventually Hurley.
right. I mean, Calhoun to
It's
Kevin
the same way.
Calhoun to Ali.
Actually, wait a minute.
It had its place.
Ali won the
yeah.
second national championship, didn't he?
Yeah, it took a little more time. I mean,
I thought Calhoun won both.
Yeah, no, it took a little more time, but most of the time, it doesn't work. And the Hall of Famer to the next person, it doesn't typically work. And so maybe this is poetic. Maybe this not even poetic. Maybe this not having Jerry right away is going to give Jerry the love and support. The unfortunate is that Adrian comes in and, that in between of Jim to Jerry was not pretty, and it's tough. But I hope that Adrian finds his feet. I hope that he finds his place, that he's happy. I hope that people learn to respect him and treat him as a human being, because the sickness that went through Syracuse University's fandom was pretty gross and pretty disgusting and pretty deplorable. And I really don't even want those people to live in the city if that's how they act toward people. I'd like them to live on an island by themselves. But I understand people's frustration. I don't understand people's hatred and negativity, especially because everybody makes mistakes and everybody has tough times. And if the world flipped and we started coming to your cubicle and treating you the way you treat coaches and players and media people, these people probably cry. They probably crap themselves. So, I mean, as much as I understand the frustration with Adrian, I understand that he is a human, and I understand that whether you like the way he coached or not, you really need to work on respect, some people out here. Beyond that, Jerry coming home to finish the point, he knows how to win here. He's been an assistant that has guided the team to place. The last time the team made the NCAA tournament and got far was with Jerry. So Jerry's done it as a player. Jerry's done it as an assistant. And I fully believe he can do it as a head coach. I believe in who he is. He's always been good to me. He's been consistent with me. And no matter how many things have happened, he's done something that other people haven't done. He didn't lose himself. He didn't lose who he came from, his parents, how he was raised, what he's done. When I went to see him at Siena for his introductory press conference, he treated me as someone he knows, as someone he trusts, and as someone he values. And so when I get to see him today, I hope for the same Jerry. I hope for a Jerry that's even better, that's grown, knowledge, wisdom, experience. But this was the move I wanted them to make. This was the move I felt like was the only move to make. So yes, they tried other avenues, but eventually they came here. And ultimately, I'm happy because he knows my city. He loves my city. He understands my city. And we're in a place right now where he's talked about. Syracuse is on the precipice of being a forgotten school, or a school that goes into whatever this is going to be that I predicted a long time ago of what college athletics was going to turn into, that I didn't want it to turn into. So either Syracuse will be left behind or Syracuse will be a part of it. And if somebody knows the history, understands the history, was a part of the history, and really believes that you can win in this city because he has, the only guy to choose at this point was Gerry McNamara. And I hope the fans give him the support, because I really, truly believe he's the right guy. And I'm happy that he's coming home. And I could not be more excited for GMAC Day, which is today, March 30th at 4 p.m.
It's ironic that it's the 30th day of the month, starting with the number three, and he wore number three at Syracuse. But yeah, it's an awesome thing, man. I think you know I obviously knew he was on that 2003 national championship team.
Yeah.
I knew about him partly through knowing he was on the coaching staff and also what you had told me about him.
Yeah.
When he gets the job at Siena a couple of years ago, and seeing what you're posting about it and your conversations with him, and going into that Duke game, I'm like, I mean, sure, I'd love to see him win, but they got no chance, and they take him down to the wire.
Yeah. Yeah.
And meanwhile, guys, this is Duke. It's not like they're taking Southern Miss to the wire in the play-in game.
Yeah.
They took Duke to the wire.
Yeah.
A team that just went to the Elite Eight, was the number one overall seed. Obviously, we'll get into that game later because that was wild.
Just hold on to the ball. That's all you had to do.
That was wild. We'll talk about that one later, but oh my goodness, man. I mean, you take Duke to the wire.
Yeah.
And now you're going to be the head coach of a team that gets to play Duke twice a year. That is pretty darn cool. And a team that you won a national championship with, a team that you're familiar with, a city that you're familiar with. People forget, like, that is such an underrated trait for a coach, is being more, all too familiar with the city,
Yeah.
with the team, with the fans. A lot of times you see players that win national championships and get into coaching. If they get to coach with the team they won a national championship with, and they start to be successful, they don't go anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't. I mean, not that he was necessarily coaching at UConn, but the type of contract that Dan Hurley turned down to coach the Lakers, that took guts out of him to turn that down. Now, granted, he used it as leverage to get a bigger contract from UConn.
That's
Nobody is blaming him for that.
That's all I think it was. I said when he went that he was, in my opinion, I said he's never going to take that job. He is only going there to renegotiate with UConn. I said that
of course,
because that was my feeling.
And why wouldn't he?
There's no way he's going to take that job.
And why wouldn't he? Yeah. It's like you just went back-to-back national championships for your team. You got a team from the NBA that comes calling. Why wouldn't you use that as leverage to negotiate?
He could win his
That's how it works.
He could win his third championship in 4 years.
Literally.
That's insane. He's the
I mean,
coach.
I still have some things to say about how they got there and their region and this, that, and the other in the Big East, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
But folks, if you are working at a job,
yeah,
and another company reaches out to you about working for them, and they offer you a good amount more money, but you like the place that you're at, right? Wouldn't you use that as leverage to go to your bosses and say, "Hey, I got offered this really good job at a really good salary. I really don't want to leave. What can you guys do to keep me? Can you, I'd like to stay, but I need a raise in order to stay." I got a friend that just went through that.
Yeah.
And he got a big raise because of it. And he asked me about it. I'm like, dude, use it as leverage.
Yeah.
And he did, and he got a big raise because of it. And I'm happy for him. I'm thrilled for him. So that is like, nobody will blame Dan Hurley for that. Nobody would blame Gerry McNamara for doing the same thing if the opportunity presented itself. Use it as leverage, bring it back to Syracuse, get more money, and you're good. No one's going to blame him for that.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, Syracuse is a basketball school. It's not a football school. It would not shock me if in a couple of years, and I don't know the details of his contract. It wouldn't shock me if he is right now, but if he's not, it would not shock me if in 5 years Jerry's making significantly more money than whoever the football coach is. If Fran's still around, it'll probably, I think he'd be making more money than Fran. If it's not Fran and it's somebody else,
Well, they
he'll
are
definitely be making more
notoriously
money than that.
cheap. Boeheim made nothing compared to what he should have to his former assistants. And Boeheim, I feel like he supplemented himself with all the endorsements and other things he did. I mean, Boeheim built his brand, but if the numbers I was told, with Syracuse being a private institution, they don't publicly put out their contracts. If what was told to me was correct with what they paid Boeheim, it's more money than most people will see in a lifetime.
Oh, of course, I'm sure.
But it was like bottom tier for the coaching. Like if you looked at what other coaches were making, Rick Pitino, his former assistant, if the numbers I got were correct versus Rick Pitino's numbers, Boeheim was getting paid significantly less than his former assistant. So like there's a lot there. Syracuse is cheap. And they have to figure out how to stop doing that. They say some people stay rich because they're smart with their money, and some people stay rich because they don't spend their money. And Syracuse is the latter. We're going to change the dome, but we need the city to help us. I was like, get the out of here. I'm not giving you money. You want to change the dome, change it. The internet still doesn't work in the dang dome. The internet doesn't work. When I asked if they could get the internet to work for the media, I got told basically to keep my mouth shut. So, I mean, let's be real about something. You got a cheap university that makes a lot of bad decisions, but Jerry's not one of them. So, let's make sure you take care of that, you support that, and your treasure troughs that you're keeping until the end of time for the money to burn on earth by itself, maybe spend a little bit of it and stop complaining that you're poor. I think it's hilarious when Syracuse is like, we don't have any money. I was like, yeah, okay, bro. You got no money. You poor thing. They own half the dang city. There's hotels that have closed down. There's businesses that don't exist anymore because Syracuse ate part of the city. And my best advice to Syracuse University is you need the city to survive. So stop eating it. Let businesses be there. Let bars and restaurants be there. Let hotels be there so that you can have the NIT, so you can have the NCAA tournament. Stop taking over the city because you'll die that way. I mean, I don't know who makes the decisions, but there's a lot of bad ones. But Jerry's not one of those decisions that was a bad decision. But the whole we're poor is just, it's hilarious, Murph. It's really funny to say that. I mean, I crunched the numbers based on if they never sold a ticket to a game, never sold a beer, never sold a jersey, never sold food, they just had undergraduate admission. I ran those numbers of what they make per year for their $80,000+ a student education.
How many students do they have?
It'll make you vomit. So like,
I imagine it. The second symbol starts with a B.
Yeah. So Syracuse University enrollment per year. Let me just see where it's at right now because I want to be accurate with all this, of course, as always. So Syracuse's total enrollment is over 22,000. So let's just for giggles,
at 80 grand a pop.
So I'll use 80 grand, which was the number a couple of years ago. So they're making close. Now, me using lower numbers is close to my number that I said years ago, which is if they never sold a ticket, never sold parking, never sold a jersey, never sold a hat, never sold a beer, never sold a hot dog, never sold a soda, per year, they make $2 billion on the enrollment to their school. So
that's $2 billion with the B, folks.
Right. So let's stop this. Like, we don't have any money. Can the city help us? No. And people ask me, they're like, do you donate to the school? And I was like, hell no. They don't need my money. I donate to my city. I'll take care of my city. My city. So, yeah, no. Okay. my job and what I do enough for that university with how I interview and what I do, and the fact that 98% of the people that walk in that room lie, cheat, and steal, and I don't. The university should say thank you and let me do my job. But yeah, they don't need money, Murph. They ain't poor. Okay, if they're poor, then I don't know what I am. So, like, I mean, if they're the peasant in the palace, I don't know. But yeah, it's funny to me that that this university can't seem to figure out life. But they got a choice to make. They have a choice to make. Okay, are we going to be smoke and mirrors? And are you going to keep the same people? Because they keep changing leaders, but they keep the army. And they wonder why the army isn't winning any battles, because if you change the leader, if you change the commander, you're still leading the same army into battle. And I'm not talking about the student athletes. And I'm not talking about the coaches. So, I mean, they have a lot of decisions to make at Syracuse. But the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. I mean, yeah, you can change your athletic director, but that doesn't change the department. You can move a bunch of people around, but that doesn't make the decisions better. Ultimately, what it comes down to, and people don't want to hear this, but it's how you treat people. How you treat people. People work with who they want to work with, who they feel comfortable working with, who they feel safe with, who they feel valued by. And Syracuse has a decision to make of who they're going to choose to be. Ego has begun the demise and the deterioration of that school. If they want to die, they keep going the way they're going. If they want to live, they got to make a lot of changes. And Gerry's one of the good things that comes to that university. And I'm hoping that his positivity and his goodness is contagious, because that school has had a lot of contagions that aren't good. So now I ask them to make positivity contagious. That's what I would say.
Yeah, it's sad, and it's one of those things where Syracuse is a city that people know by the university.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cities like that. Chapel Hill, North Carolina, people know because of the University of North Carolina. Gainesville, Florida, people know because of the University of Florida. Tuscaloosa, Alabama, people know because of the University of Alabama.
Yeah.
They don't think, they're not thinking, and obviously this is not me crapping on your hometown. This is just, the view from the outside world. Like, when people think of Syracuse, they only think of the university. I don't, because I've been there. I get it. But people only think of the university. That's how people know Syracuse. That's how people know Tuscaloosa. That's how people know Chapel Hill.
Yeah.
And a lot of other places around this country. Because of the university. In order for that to change, you ultimately need to get people on board with the program and embracing your surroundings.
Yeah.
Otherwise, people ain't going to care. I mean, there's a reason why Syracuse, correct me if I'm wrong, Syracuse is one of the biggest cities in upstate New York. Is it not?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the best way to describe the state of New York, upstate, is Syracuse, and then above that Rochester, and above that Buffalo. Not in what I care about more, just like volume. It's like, here's Syracuse, which is a pretty big city. Rochester a little bit bigger. Buffalo bigger than that.
Okay. Yeah, so like, it's one of the biggest cities in the state of New York, right?
And one of the only ones that doesn't have a main street, by the way, which is so weird. But
dude, we have Main Street in Stroudsburg.
There's no Main Street.
Doesn't even have one.
There's no Main Street. There's a main
I don't get it.
There's a Main Street
everywhere, man.
Yeah, I know. There's probably a Main Street in some backwoods town in Iowa, but there's no Main Street in Syracuse, which I can't for the life of me figure it out. I'm like, just for art, I mean, we should probably change a street to Main Street, but there's no Main Street. There's main roads, but there's no Main Street. And I realized that a few years back. I was like, is my city the only city that I've been in that doesn't have a Main Street? And as of right now, yes.
I've never, I don't necessarily think about that, but it wouldn't shock me. I mean, where we're going to be moving to, Easton has a Main Street.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously that's a separate note. We're actually moving probably within the next 2 months, within the next 5 weeks, 6 weeks or so. And obviously my studio setup's going to look a lot different because I'm not really going to have a separate room for that anymore.
Yeah.
It's whatever room I have in the house and until I'm out on my own. But, that's gonna be a little freaky, but Easton has a Main Street, as far as I know. Um, and even Main Street in Stroudsburg, where the Sherman Theater and everything is, and Scranton has one.
Yeah.
Everybody's
got one, except for us.
Yep.
I mean, I feel like I feel like I should make a T-shirt with all the, if you go on my website, wakeupcalldt.com, literally on the top of the website, right underneath the Wake Up Call words and how you can listen, there is a shop now that's like constantly move. You'll see it because it moves. The graphic moves, and you can click on the shop now. You can go to my merchandise store and you can buy Wake Up Call Superpowered Pop, as well as Two Mics No Filter, Do Diz with Dan, and of course Dan Tortora Broadcast Media apparel that's overall with all the brands. You can go to that website and you can buy. I'm thinking about making a shirt that says Syracuse deserves a Main Street. I'm thinking about doing that on my merchandise site. Just having like a limited edition, like Syracuse should have a Main Street. But yeah, I mean, there's ones that you imagine are. We just don't have one, which is wild. But I want to get one. I think we should get one. I'm going to petition for it, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not coming here this morning to like poo on the university. I've just been inside long enough of these events, and I've been around it long enough to say, like, I'm not surprised that this place is struggling, because you can have all the money in the world, but if you treat people like crap, it don't work out. And I'm just a firm believer in that. Like, the way you treat people always comes back. It always comes back. It could take 14 years. It could take 5 days. But how you treat people always finds you. You will meet people that you either hugged or crapped on. You will meet them again. And I tell people all the time, I go, I'm never the person in the room, like, scared because somebody sat next to me. What am I going to do? I'm like, no. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not going to put myself in a situation where if I see somebody again, I got to be terrified. I look to that person. I mean, I had somebody sit next to me that spoke poorly about me and did some things, and they were shaking their leg the whole time during the national anthem, couldn't look at me. And I was like, why can't you look at me? What's the problem? Are you uncomfortable? I don't feel bad. So, I mean, how you treat people always comes back. If you spit into the wind, it hits you. And karma's only a bad thing if you do crap. See, they say people wish bad on people, and I would suggest that people don't do that. When you say, I wish for you what you give, the only people that get offended are the people that do bad things. When you say, I hope you get what you give, if somebody responds to you, Murph, and goes, I can't believe you said that. Wait a minute. I hope you get what you give is on you, not me. I'm hoping you get what you give. So if you do good things, that's a good thing. If you do bad things, it's a bad thing. But it has nothing to do with the person that's hoping it for you. So I tell people this all the time. It's relative, right? When I say, I hope you get what you give, that's only somebody thinking poorly if their conscience is working and telling them, hey, I ain't doing good things. Karma is only bad if you slap her. When I see Karma, I give her a hug. I say, what do you need? How's your day going, Karma? I appreciate you. When you slap Karma in the face, don't be surprised. Don't be surprised when she hits you. But that's not anybody wishing bad on you. That's called real. God has a way of humbling you. God has a way of telling people, if you think you're going to get away with murder, I promise you you're not. Okay? Epstein, a billion years, but look at it now. Bill Cosby, a billion years, but look at it now. I mean, things eventually come back around. Could take 80 years, could take 5 days, but it's how you treat people. And the best thing I can say to people is, the reason why I can't wait to see Gerry today is how he treats me. It's how he's been. If he was a crappy human being, I wouldn't feel the same way I feel today. But he's not. I like him as a human, not just as a coach and not just as a player. So, to me, the last thing I did with Adrian Autry is I hugged him and I told him I loved him. It's the last thing I did. Because win, lose, or draw, that man sat with me a long time ago and told me he wanted to be a head coach, and I got to see it happen, and I'm proud of him. So how you treat people, because it always comes back around, Murph. It always comes back. If you crap on a coach and you're like, haha, this coach is getting fired, I never have to deal with him again, blah, blah, blah. You will bump into that coach. He's going to get hired. He gets fired as the head coach, and you crap on the guy, and you write smut, and you say all these horrible things, and you're really rude and disgusting. That coach will become the offensive coordinator of the school that you end up covering 3 years from now, and he's going to look right at you. What you going to do? You know what I mean? Or
God, I hope I don't see Billy Napier anytime soon.
but it's like, it's real deal squeal. I mean, it's listen, how you treat people is how you get treated. And that's why I'm happy Gerry got hired. Because
maybe Summerall holds it against me too, man. And the difference with Summerall is I want him to succeed. I just didn't like the hire. Well, I thought it was a bad hire, but I want him to succeed because he is the current head coach of my team.
Well, I'll tell you this right now. John Summerall, who I've known for a few years now, if he goes back and watches these shows, he's going to be like, hey, you defended me in rooms I wasn't in. I'd be like, yeah, go after Murph, not me.
Listen, I want to eat my words. I do. John, if you are listening to this, I want you to succeed. Yeah. I just didn't agree with the hire. I want you to prove me wrong.
Listen, you and Papa Joe have come around, okay? You guys have not been bad. You guys have come around, all right? I have said this before. I said, John Calipari, if he ever comes on my show, he's going to yell at me. But, I mean, because I called him the greased oil salesman. I mean, that's what I called him. I called him a car salesman. But, see, my thing with John Calipari is he goes to a place, they get sanctioned, he gets a raise, he goes somewhere else, gets a raise, makes more money. He doesn't get sanctioned, but the school gets sanctioned. So it's like, he's the coach, they get in trouble, he leaves and makes more money, the school gets punished. He leaves and makes more money, the school gets punished, and I'm going, that's not right. So it's not even an attack on John Calipari, it's more of a broad scope of how does the coach not get in trouble, but the school does after? Or how does the NCAA investigate UConn during their run to a title, and they get to keep their title with 8 violations, but Syracuse had to lose 101 wins over Boeheim under less allegations and less infractions. So it's like, I call things out that don't make sense, and trust me, I'm not perfect. I've been rude to people. You know, I could have been a better human being here, there. I will say that, but see, I live up to that. You know, like if somebody came up to me and goes, hey, I heard that you don't appreciate the way I treat you. In that moment, I'd have to go, yeah, I don't. Well, you should have told me to my face. Okay, to your face, I don't like the way that you treat me. You know, I mean, that's reality. I don't hide from things because I got bullied a lot. And I don't think it's right for people to do that to people. And I think Syracuse University has been a bully. And I think it's time to stop. You know, this is my city. Okay? This is my city. And I want to see Syracuse University succeed more than I can tell you. But good people, they succeed when they fail. Shitty people fail when they succeed. I think that's the best way I can put it.
Yeah, I mean that checks out. It's. I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, you do the show every day. I'm on here once a week, and sometimes things that we say can come back to bite us in the butt. Um, so we always got to be careful with what we say, and it's because you don't know who's watching, you don't know who's listening. So,
Yeah.
one of the things that I always talk about, because we talk about life and things, and I'll bring stuff up about about my job, about TaylorMade, and I love it.
Yeah.
You know, I always kind of say like when I'm set up at fitting events, that is my absolute favorite part of the job. That is the reason I do what I do. The setup, the drive to and from, that part sucks. That's there's no sugarcoating that, but we do it because we're helping people get. I do it because I help people get better at golf, and I love the fitting process because it's like solving a puzzle, right?
Yeah.
We talk about what we do with sports cards, and I tell you about like what you should do, right? I talk about prospecting all the time. Connor Griffin did not make the opening day roster. You got about another week or two, maybe 3, before I'd really start saying hammer his stuff, buy his stuff now, get a bunch of it, and then sell it all when he gets called up. I don't care about the person that buys it because that's their problem.
Right.
I know it's kind of a crappy way to think, but at the same time, like last year, I made the deal online on Veriswap with, the guy for that Jack Caglione auto.
Yeah.
I made a bunch of money on it. I got a ton of money for it. It's now worth maybe 20 cents on the dollar or what he gave me for it. If that.
Yeah.
So, I don't necessarily worry about that because it's, once it's done, it's done. Because I've had plenty of cards that have gone up a crazy amount after I sold it. That's Shohei Ohtani Bowman Chrome, PSA 9. Yeah. I sold it for $13.50. It's now almost a $2,000 card in a month.
Yeah.
Do I care? No, not really. I don't really care.
You never know.
I just care about cars not going down. But the problem is, stuff goes up, stuff goes down. Someone's always going to get stuck with it when it goes down. Anthony Richardson downtown took a huge loss on that. Mm-hmm. Now that I can do. The guy that bought the Caglione for me probably is going to take a huge loss. Probably took a huge loss on it. Someone's going to get stuck with it. Someone's going to take a huge loss. Prime example, your J.J. McCarthy. The guy you sold it to lost a ton on that card. Literally. And you bought it back for pennies on the dollar.
Yeah. Somebody was like,
what you sold it to.
they're like, you bought it back. Like, what'd you lose? I'm like, I still gained $105. Like,
yeah,
but the guy
you bought it back for like a third of what you sold it for.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but the guy, and I said, I was like, this is what it's worth. Like, this is where it's at. I said, this is what I'm willing to pay. And he was like, okay. And I was like, okay.
I wanted to get out of the card.
Right. He wanted the card to go. And then there was another card. And then I tried to, I actually offered to pay him more for another card that I really wanted because I believed that I was going to buy that card from him and sell it for higher than what I was buying from him, but he didn't want to part with it. But I gave him a more than fair for that because it was like, you were great to give me this JJ at what I got it for. We shook hands on it. We did the deal. And then I tried to go back to him and say, hey, I'll give you more for this. But he wanted to hold on because he believed. And you know what? I think he made the right decision. If I had the card that he had or he had the card that he had, that card was going to go up. And I hope he sold it. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good. But that's a prime example. Literally. Like, that is a perfect example. There are cards that you will lose money on. I got a Paolo Banchero auto I'm probably going to lose $100 on right now.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Maybe I throw it on eBay and make a little bit. But we've all been there. Right? And you can't necessarily think about that.
Yeah.
So, I don't worry as much about, like, once I sell a card, it's done. Like, I could not care less what happens to it. If it goes up, if it goes down, If it goes down, then that's, I'm glad I got out of it when I did. If it goes up, I made money on it, so I don't care. Um, but it all comes back to the same thing, right? Like, you don't know who's watching, you don't know who's listening, you don't know if you're gonna be making a deal with a guy, in 2 weeks
Yeah.
on something that, I make a deal with a guy for a card, and then a month later the card is tanked.
Yeah.
And I see the guy again. It's like, there's nothing I can do. The card went down in value. You can't necessarily predict that. Or, we talk about sports on this show. We talk about coaches. We talk about players.
Yeah.
Something happens where, we're criticizing a decision, or we're criticizing, something that a coach did or a player did. And then you hear from them and it's like, well, you guys weren't exactly all that favorable to me. And it's like, we're telling the truth. Like, we're not holding it against you as a person.
Yeah.
It's just the decision you made in that moment was not very good, but you got to own it.
There's a
right?
way.
If you try to walk, if you walk it back,
yeah,
when they're standing right in front of you, you're a coward.
Yeah, there's
Own
a
it.
way. There's a way. I've said this before. And I think of Frank Howard when I think about this, but Frank was struggling at Syracuse, and there were some games and turning the ball over, whatever. And I would see him. He wouldn't talk to the media, just leave. And then I saw him out. He was going outside the dome and he gave me a hug, because I was writing stories about the team, not lying, constructively criticizing the team, but I respected him. And there's a way, listen, if we talk to people the way we wanted to be talked to, and we treated people the way we want to be treated, which I can be better at, and I'm sure everybody can be better at, but if we talk to people the way we want to be talked to, and we treated people the way we want to be treated, we would get it. I don't ever want to walk in a locker room and have a player go, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want that. Has it happened where a player's like, I'm not doing interviews, I'm not talking in general? Yeah. But I'm not talking to you, Dan. I had a player do the opposite. I had a player who the media kept speaking for, kept saying stuff. And I asked him to his face, I go, did the media fabricate this story? He goes, pretty much. And then the next year, other stuff happened, and he's sitting in the locker room and nobody's talking to him in the media, and they're all over the place. And I went over to him. I said, hey, my guy. I was like, hey, can I talk to you? He looked around. He goes, for you? Yeah. For all these other mothers? Hell no. I don't ever want to be the hell no. If you don't want to talk because you don't want to talk, hey, I can't stop that. But I never want to be that. I don't want to talk to you. That's never the guy that and it's not the guy I've been. There are times where you get, listen, people think I'm not a fan of LeBron. I don't think he's the GOAT, and I don't like his lack of sportsmanship at times, and I don't like how selfish, and I don't want to say selfish. I don't like his ego.
I'll say selfish. I'll let you, because obviously I don't speak for you, so I'll say selfish.
But I don't like his ego, and I don't like the example he sets for people. I don't like it. I just don't. I've never said he's untalented. I've never said he's not good. I've never said he doesn't deserve credit for the work that he's done. I've never said that he doesn't have longevity. I've never said he's a bad basketball player. I've just said personally, from the outside, and I don't know him personally, from what I've seen, I would never want to be on his team. Now, he could come on the show and say, F you, Dan, and da-da-da-da-da, because you said X, Y, and Z. And I would say, LeBron, do you not flop? Here's footage. LeBron, did you not walk off the court when the game was still going on? Because that's not sportsmanship.
In the NBA Finals, no less.
This is what I'm referring to, LeBron. This is what I'm referring to. I'm not attacking you as a human being. If you were named Bob Smith, I would say the same thing. I would say, why is Bob Smith walking off the court during the game? So it's not about, and I got no ties to Jordan more than I have ties to LeBron, but I defend Jordan all the time because it's the logical reason is that Jordan is the best. So, and I would go Jordan, Kobe, not LeBron. I don't know how the
I
hell
love
Kobe
that.
doesn't get in this conversation. So, like, here's my thing. Can I be better? Yes. Okay, I can always be better. And I check myself. I'm the type of person where I will call you up and apologize instead of waiting for you to ask me to apologize or saying to me, hey, yesterday you did this. I'm the person that's going to call you up and go, you know what? I could have done better, because it doesn't sit right with me. In my brain, everybody has a conscience, but some people shove it really low so you can't barely hear it anymore. It's there, but they put stuff on it. I don't. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Right? I was wrong in the NCAA tournament today, or this season. I was wrong. I was wrong about Gonzaga. I was wrong about Houston. Now, I don't hate Mark Few, and I don't hate Kelvin Sampson. I haven't said a bad word about either one of those guys about anything, right? My bracket's busted. Okay. It's not a personal attack. It happens. Somebody's got to win. Somebody's got to lose. I didn't think that Michigan was going to get this far. I'm super proud of Dusty May. I talked to Dusty when he was a coach at FAU. But if Michigan came to me and said, did you pick us? I would have to say, no, I didn't. Not an attack, not a personal thing. I didn't pick you guys, okay? I didn't. But there's other times where I did pick people, and I did say they're going to get that far, and people didn't give me credit. And then there's times where I didn't pick somebody, and it's like, well, you didn't pick them. Okay, but here's the thing. There's a way to talk where you respect. There's a way to do it. There's a way to talk about a team that's not playing well without being a jerk. And I'll never forget what Joe Adams said, who's still my friend to this day. He was the offensive line coach at Syracuse under Scott Schaefer. And there was like 4 or 5 of us media that were talking to him one day. And I was standing directly in front of him. And he looked at all of us and he said, I just want to let you know, my mom reads every article you write. My mom sees everything you've said about me. I just want that to be known before we start our interview. Now, that made the room uncomfortable, but I've never written a bad thing about Joe Adam. So he wasn't talking to me. And when Eric Dungy looked at the camera and said, I'm happy that we're winning, when the city didn't believe in us and our fans didn't believe in us, we know you guys didn't believe in us. Only we believed in us. I stood there and I was like, that's not to me. When Trevor Cooney said, you can't write your story today because we won, that wasn't to me. Because, listen, I'm going to be right on predictions and I'm going to be wrong. But what I'm
It's
not
the
going
nature of the beast.
But what I'm not going to be is disrespectful. What I'm not going to be is treat somebody the way I don't want to be treated. And sometimes I got to catch myself. There's times on this show where I'm like, man, coming back from break, just so you know, guys, I should have done better. I'm thinking that in my head, like I went too far. I didn't need to do that. I don't ever want to treat someone or talk to someone or talk about someone the way I don't want to be treated, talked about, or talked to. And I've failed in that. But I'm alive today. God woke me up this morning to succeed in that. And whatever people said or didn't say about Gerry or about whatever, when you walk into a room, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't. I've had people screw me out of money and disrespect me to the tens of thousands of dollars. And when their birthday came around, I wished them a happy birthday. When Father's Day came around, I wished them a happy Father's Day. Is it easy to say happy Father's Day to someone that owes you 10 grand? No. But I thought to myself, if I show them compassion and I show them love and I treat them better than they treated me, maybe they won't do this to the next person. Some people think I'm nuts. Why would you reach out to someone who did that to you? Because I don't want to put, if they did that to me, they've probably done it to other people. And I don't want to push somebody's face in the dirt. Sometimes my ego does. Sometimes I want to knock somebody out. Trust. Because you get sick and tired of people being bullies and mean. But I put my fist at my side. Because I want to go to heaven when I die. And God's not going to say, how many kills did you have? Congrats. He's not going to say how many guys you knock out for talking sideways. Congrats. He's going to ask me how many times I held my fist and put it down. And I think that this world needs to really start thinking about that. because an eye for an eye does make the whole world blind. And some people think Jesus is crazy when he said, turn the other cheek. But what good do you get? Think about it. When someone's treated you like crap and you gave it right back to them, Murph, you thought, I'm going to feel great. I'm going to put them in their place. How good you feel when you walked away? How good you feel about it the next day? Do we really feel good when we get even? Or do we feel like we just stoop down to whatever dirt level that person's living at?
I will say sometimes it feels good, but most of the time.
Yeah. Like sticking up for
Like
yourself,
you get,
fine. But hurting somebody, there's a way to stick up for yourself without going too far.
yeah.
When you go too far, like when you finally stick up to a bully and go, hey, that's enough. We ain't doing this anymore. I'm not moving. I've done that, and I don't feel bad about that at all. But I do feel bad about the days where I turn around and I told somebody, like, this is why you're a scummy. Like, this is why you're crap. And I remember going, why didn't you bite your tongue? Like, you wanted to hurt who hurt you. And you succeeded. And you felt like crap. And all these years later, you still feel like you did the wrong thing. So it's like, there's a way to be like, hey, no, we're not doing this anymore. I'm not taking this crap anymore. There's a difference between telling someone I'm not taking your crap and then giving them crap. And I feel like I had a moment where I told somebody what's up, and I should have just left. But I kept going because I was angry. And those are the moments where it's like, do you feel good when you stick up for yourself? Yes. Do you feel good when you dish it back? I hope people don't say yes. Because I don't feel good when I give it back. I think I'm gonna, right? I think I'm like, oh man, this person said all this stuff to me. I told you off the air about something that somebody did to me. And Murph, everything inside of me was like, I want to go to their office and I want to put them in their place. And then my brain and my heart were like, where the hell's that going to get you? Like, if you actually succeed in hurting that person, does that make you feel better? It's not going to change what they did to you, and it's not going to make them a better person. The best thing that you can do is say your piece and stick up for yourself, but then walk. There's always that line of, I'm going to stick up for myself, or I'm going to stick up for myself and then cross into, now I'm the villain. And I think the media jumps into the villain part, thinking that no one's ever going to read it, no one's ever going to call it out. And I'm going to tell you this because I've been in this thing long enough. If you think the coaches and the players that you talk dirt about don't know who you are, they know. And I've talked to them. I've had a player tell me, who requested me tonight? Oh yeah, I'll come out. Who requested me tonight? Oh, I have class. I've had players tell me, if this person's name came across my desk, I lied and said that I had class. These players and these coaches, they know. And I don't ever want to be the person that they say, this person disrespected me. I'm not. I might say something they don't like. I may disagree with them. I've disagreed with Boeheim, but you do it respectfully. I defend Boeheim and disagree with him. If he got out of the 2-3 zone and he was willing to play man, they could have won more than one championship. But he won over 1,100 games, and he's a dang good coach, and he's the reason why I can go anywhere in the world and people know what the hell Syracuse is. He's a big reason, if not the reason. So I don't say I disagree with Boeheim without I'm grateful for him. We don't agree on everything. Nobody does. But I respect him. And I think that second part is what people miss. You can agree or disagree, but do you respect? There's a difference between fighting and having an argument. If you're having an argument or a disagreement, you're not agreeing, but you're trying to figure things out. If you're fighting, you're calling names, you're saying, there's a difference between I don't agree with you and I don't care if I ever see you again. And people have to be careful in those worlds because it's dangerous and it gets really close sometimes. And I think that the media thinks we have carte blanche because of freedom of speech. But freedom of speech does not mean freedom of consequence. You have the freedom to speak your mind. But I would be the type of coach that would come up to you and go, oh, you think because I'm back in Syracuse that I'm going to give you anything? I remember what you did to my family. And it's not a grudge. I just realized that I can't trust you. If I was Gerry and somebody did him dirty, I'd be nice as all get out. But I'd pick who I talk to.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
You know, there's a way of being respectful, but still say, hey, listen, what did I say? Forgiveness is an admission. Forgiveness doesn't mean I can forgive you. It doesn't mean you get to come in my theme park anymore. I can forgive you for doing what you did, but you ain't coming back in, right? I've forgiven plenty of people. Some of those people are allowed in my house and some are not. Because forgiveness and admission are two totally different things. And in the world that I live in, I sit there and I listen to the media talk smut about these players and coaches. And then they walk up to them and go, hi, how are you? I'm Sandy. And I'm like, are you schizophrenic? Like, I mean, they find that out, Murph. They find that out. Real recognizes real. And people, I mean, that you know. I'm the person that wants to walk down the street and the team's 0-8 and the mom of the wide receiver goes, what's up, DT? That's what I want. I don't want the mom to go, oh, that's one of the reporters that said all that crap about my son. I hope he gets hit by a bus. Like, I don't.
Well, hopefully you don't have to worry about being 0-8.
I'm just saying. Last year was a tough year, but I didn't have any parents give me anything. You know, last year was a tough year for Syracuse football, but, you know, it's the same thing with Steve Angeli. Like, I supported him through all that. And when the fans booed him, I told the fans what's up. So I stand on what I said, Murph. If you boo Gerry McNamara, sell your house and leave Syracuse. I said that. I told Jerry's mom that. She's like, well, that's a little, she's like, that might be like a little excessive. I was like, no, Joyce, that's how I feel. It's like, but, and what I'm really saying is time is something we all need, but almost none of us give. So let's give Gerry some time and let's respect him. We'll take a step aside for a fast break. When we come back, we're going to talk about something Ketel Marte did that just made me love him even more. We're also going to talk about the fact that Philadelphia Eagles general manager had something to say to the world. And replacement refs. The only reason why I want to talk about this, shouldn't say the only reason, but when I saw it this morning, I was like, I really want Murph to rant about this. So we'll talk about replacement refs.
I don't know if I have a good rant about that.
You may.
We'll talk. We'll see.
Well, you may.
We'll see.
But it's all coming up after this. Stay with us, folks, inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios.
Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and always online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, order anywhere, anytime at maandpaspopcorn.com. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York to get your half-price refills for the rest of your life. Come to Ma and Pa's for your holiday gift giving for family, friends, employees, and clients. And remember, for fundraising and events, to call 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
This is Jim Dispenza, owner of Game Point Sports Complex. You hear the same story across any sport that kids play and any sport that adults play. There's never enough places to play. That was definitely true with volleyball, definitely true with basketball. Could be cheerleading, it could be field hockey, which is what we're seeing now. Every sport has a lack of places to play, and I think Syracuse in particular is a place where it's really bad. Despite the fact that we've got a lot of athletic talent around here, we just seem to have not enough places for people to play, and they're going to different places. They're going to Rochester, they're going to, Buffalo. They're going all different places because we don't have a place here, and I felt like that should change. This was a long project from planning all the way through execution to opening the doors. A lot of work went into it, obviously, a lot of money, a lot of resources, and the dream always was kids being in the gym, having a good time. And I've always felt like sports is the most unfiltered joy that you can observe with people that people can experience, because it is fun, it is a sense of accomplishment, it's all of that wrapped into one thing. And so watching kids going up and down the court with big smiles on their faces has been just amazing experience. I'm looking forward to years to come of that same thing. We've taken the time to invest in multiple sports, and then what we're finding is the mere fact that we have a large, clean, well-lit space has opened a lot more doors for us beyond basketball, volleyball, pickleball. Now we're having some interest from cheerleading. We've got girls field hockey coming in, and then also there's quite a bit of room for spectators. We've got bleachers, we've got benches, we've got a concession lounge where people can get food and drinks. We're going to have multiple sports going at the same time, using every square inch of this place for what it was conceived for, which is basically people to come in, have a good time in the sport that they prefer. We manage each situation differently. Everybody has different ability to afford different things. Some are bringing 10, 15 people, some are just 2 people. I've had a lot of situations where it's a father shooting around with his son, it's a mother playing pickleball with her daughter or with her son, and in those situations come up and we work with people, and that's allowed us to have groups from 2 people up to 30 people and have some flexible pricing behind it. We're an organization that is here to work with the community community any way we can. And I guess part of it is just making sure that we have the flexibility to put together a plan that makes sense regardless of the size of your group. So in order to book time, the best option is to go to our website, gamepointsports-syr.com. You can click from there and sign up for events, sign up for your own particular training, sign up for birthday parties, all of that.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks coming to you on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York is your one-stop sports card and trading card shop. Find your way over to GG Cards and Breaks today. Well, I should say Tuesday through Saturday. I forget what day it is sometimes. Tuesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Sundays from 10 to 5. If you knew how I figured out my days, it's me figuring out what segments I didn't do for the show yet this week. That's how I know my weeks. So with that being said, GG Cards and Breaks, a place where you could be a big kid all the time. Make sure you go out there. Josh, Anthony, and the crew have done a fantastic job bringing you singles, packs, boxes, all the stuff to protect your cards. Travel with them. One Piece, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, Disney Lorcana, hockey, soccer, basketball, baseball, football. Literally a dream to be closer to your team, closer to your favorite player, closer to the characters you love. Being a big kid makes the best adults. So head to GG Cards and Breaks and see what it's like to be around a great community and great people. 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. We will see you there. With that being said, Murphlation Station is here with us this morning. Murph, I bought this football, and I figured you would appreciate it, and I feel like it needs to be the backdrop of every time I do a football box break. It has every NFL team on the entire football. It's such a cool thing here. It's got every single team. Where the Jets are. Let's see.
I was just about to ask that.
I know. I could see you looking. There they are.
I hate the new logo, man.
So,
I really wish we would just go back to the old one. The like Sam Darnold's first year was the last year of that logo and those jerseys. I really wish we would just go back to that.
Can I tell you something? This is just a joke, Tennessee fans, okay? So don't get weird. Don't at me. This is just funny because I think every football is probably a little bit different. If you see the Jaguars logo, you can see that it has overtaken the tail of the Tennessee Titan. And everybody that knows me knows I do not like the Titans because they have been the bane of the existence of the Jaguars at times. So if you can look at this here, folks, right there, the Jaguar has overtaken the Titan logo.
And the Saints are kind of overtaking the Jets.
Yeah, so the Saints overtake the Jets here. And there's a bunch of different ones here, like the the Cowboys and the Bears going after each other, the Titans and the Lions. But yeah, when I got
The Bills
this,
and the Lions.
yeah, I was like, man, I got this, and I was looking, I'm like, where's the Jaguars logo? And it's actually on here cleanly twice, and it's right by the Titans. Actually, it's on here. No, it's on here 4 times. Jeepers Christmas. I didn't even see it when I was first walking, but yes. So I got this football because it's just super sweet and awesome. And I like, when I'm doing the show, because I'm a sports fan first and foremost, and how could I be a broadcaster if I didn't like it? So I think having the football in the studio is cool, but it may be like the perfect backdrop to be sitting there when I'm doing card breaks. And
Yeah, I think it would be.
To whoever made this and had the Jaguar, just the Titan is essentially just like the beard of the Jaguar. I want to say thank you to whoever made this one. So, much appreciation. So, Murph,
That's cool.
I got to talk to you about this because this is one of the coolest things. I put it up on my story. I was hoping that Murph saw it on my story. I don't know if he did, but
I know what you're talking. I didn't see it in your story, but I know what you're talking about.
so I'm going to share this with you all. So I'm going to cut the sound off, but I just want you all to see this here. That's Freddie Freeman and Ketel Marte. And Freddie knew he was going to be out. So Ketel stood in his line to give him a hug. And this just shows to me how, there's things that are bigger than sports, bigger than rivalries. It was one of my favorite moments that Ketel was like, "Come here, baby."
Well, here's the other thing, because that's happened before. I've seen guys do that quite a few times. Like, guy slides in the second, comes up short, and the guy's like, "Come on,
come here."
Or ground ball hit the third with 2 outs, runner coming from second, it's a force out at third base, and he does the same thing. It's all in good fun. It's all a game. Ketel and Freddie obviously made that iconic and hysterical. It's something that, like, these guys all know that this is just a game at the end of the day. If a guy's out, like, he's out. Like, he's got he can't go back. He's got nowhere to go.
Yeah.
If there's 2 outs, it's like, just come on.
Don't go to athletes.
Otherwise, I'm just going to walk over to the bag and tag you out. So it makes it funnier for everybody, for them for them to come back in and do that. It just makes it funny. But I've seen a handful of guys do that over the years, and it never gets old. It's always hysterical every time it happens. Just don't be Albert Bell and, like, deck the guy as you're running to second base.
Yeah. I do want to let people know, I'm looking at this right now, and that's what was playing a little bit here. Tommy Tuberville, who I met when he was the coach of the Cincinnati Bearcats and interviewed him when he was a coach in college athletics. He's a United States Senator now for Alabama and has been. And he has an NIL bill that he's come out with. It would give student athletes in college 5 consecutive years to play 5 seasons. So you'd actually get 1 more year of eligibility with 1 free transfer, which means you wouldn't have to sit out. If you choose,
didn't Dabo Sweeney suggest that?
Yeah, he may have. If you choose to transfer again after the 1 free, you sit out a year. So this will add a year of eligibility from 4 to 5. That's part 1. Okay. I'm just going to break it into pieces here to kind of break it down here. So instead of 4 years, you get 5 collegiate years. So there's that, which is great for student athletes. 2, you can transfer anywhere you want the first time and play immediately, which is what student athletes didn't have in the past unless they got a waiver. And 3, if you transfer more than once, you have to sit out a year, which goes back to the old rule. So it honors the old rule. It helps to hopefully stop the flooding of insane free agency and people going to 4 schools in 4 years or 6 schools in 4 or whatever it may be. There's people that, like, commit to a school and never go to that school. They're like 3 schools in 1 year because they committed and decommitted, committed and decommitted, and then they went and played. So I like it, because hopefully it'll stop people from transferring more than once. or it'll make you have to sit and think about it longer. So you get a free transfer still. You don't get unlimited free transfers, and you get another year of eligibility. And somebody put on this that this is like a bad thing for student athletes. I'm like, how's it a bad thing? They get another year to play. They get another year to show professional sports what they have to offer. They can get a degree. They can make more NIL money and have 5 years instead of 4 years to make NIL money. All they have to do is think a little bit harder about what they do and how they do. I mean, I think this is great for student athletes. It gives you a free transfer. It gives you 5 instead of 4. And it just says, maybe don't transfer 6 times in 5 years or 4 years. I like the idea. I think it's a good idea. But what some people are saying, Murph, so I'm going to ask you 2 things. What do you think of Tommy Tuberville's idea is 1, and 2 is, where do coaches fit into this? Because people, rightly so, in my opinion, do not like the fact that coaches have been in the transfer. And the way I word it is, coaches have been in the transfer portal forever. Players are just now in it with them. So I want to get your thoughts on A, Tuberville's idea, B, what do we do with the fact that coaches seem to have little to no loyalty?
Yeah, I honestly think it's a great idea. Just to bring in what Dabo Sweeney had said, because I think if you combine these two, it makes it great. By giving a 5th year of eligibility, 1 free transfer. Dabo's idea was, if a coach leaves, you can transfer. Like, if your coach gets fired or your coach moves on, you can transfer without penalty. If you're a graduate student, you graduate, then you can transfer with no penalty. What we want to see eliminated is the guys that just say, I don't like this, I'm transferring. Yeah. And they do it multiple times. And then they just get to immediately play. It's like free agency. We don't want it to be like free agency. We want these kids to transfer for a good reason.
Yeah.
If your coach leaves, nobody's going to blame you for wanting to transfer. Right? DJ Lagway transfers to Baylor.
Yeah.
Because Billy Napier left. Nobody blames him. If you're not playing and you want to transfer somewhere that you can play, you get 1 chance to do that. And by all means, go ahead. But if your coach that recruited you gets fired, yeah, you should have the chance to transfer. But that's why I think you combine those 2 things and we have a good home. Because coaches move all the time. Just to get into your second point, your second question, there's movement from coaches all the time. How many coaches from the American got hired by the SEC, the Big Ten, the Big 12? It was like 4 or 5 this offseason, was it not?
For what?
So, you got 4 or 5 coaches that move on to different programs.
Yeah. There's so many.
What are those kids supposed to do?
Basketball, if you saw Murph, the NCAA tournament, there should have been a bracket for the coaches after they lost in the tournament. I talked to a coach, I talked to Scott Cross from Troy. The next day, he was the Georgia Tech head coach. Like, it happens that fast in basketball. And Jay Billis put some stuff out about one of the coaches that decided to go. He went from McNeese State to NC State for 1 year, and now he's at LSU. And I want to tell you what Jay Billis said, because it was specific. I mean, he was talking about the bigger picture, but he spoke about this, and I will say that I give Jay Billis credit for, the fearlessness of going out and saying, like, hey, I'm going to talk about what's on my mind, and I'm going to speak about it. I may agree or disagree with him on certain things, but, he doesn't shy away from stuff. So Will Wade from NC State, who I've interviewed a bunch of times, Will Wade put this out. He said, quote, I want to take a moment to sincerely thank North Carolina State University Athletic Director Boo Corrigan and the entire administration for the opportunity to be part of something special. From day one, everything that was promised to me and my staff was delivered, and then some. From the operational support to the quality of people in the building to the resources and facilities, we were given every tool needed to compete. at the highest level. That kind of commitment is rare, and it speaks volumes about the leadership and vision here at NC State. I also want to specifically acknowledge Boo Corrigan's leadership. He's thoughtful, decisive, and deeply committed to doing things the right way. NC State is in very good hands with him leading the department, and I have no doubt the program will continue to thrive under his guidance. This was not an easy decision because of how much respect and appreciation I have for this program and this university. But the opportunity to return to Louisiana State University is deeply personal. It's a chance to go home, to a place that means a great deal to me and my family. I'll always be grateful for my time here, the relationships we built, and the foundation we helped strengthen. NC State is positioned for continued success, and I'll be cheering them on moving forward. That's from Will Wade. Jay Billis said, of course, no quote-unquote tampering, no quote-unquote poaching, just coincidence LSU fired its coach and hired NC State's within minutes. The USF coach, and he's talking about Brian Hodgson, who is up for the Syracuse job, who's now at Providence. The USF coach warned other programs to, quote, stay away from my players, end quote. Then he was gone. So nobody had to stay away from him. The double standard is laughable. Let's stop complaining about player choice when coaches leave at the first chance for a better situation for themselves. Which leads me to what I was talking to you about before, and I want to get your thoughts.
Yeah. The thing is, I feel like it's different with coaches, but at the same time, like, it's the same. You have coach, obviously everybody wants to move up.
Yeah.
Right? It's no different than getting jobs in the real world. A better job opens up, you want to move up. So, it's like, same thing with Gerry McNamara, man. Like, he's at Siena for 2 years. Syracuse comes calling. He takes the job. Do you blame him? Absolutely not.
Right.
Because here's the biggest difference. Being a coach is a job. Being a player is a privilege. These players are student athletes. Student first. They need to figure out where they can go to get their best education.
Yeah.
And play, but, that's besides the point. They go for that reason. They can't just transfer willy-nilly because it's like free agency. Yeah, they're looking for something better, but they're not getting paid for it. I don't like the idea of coaches moving around as much as they are, but I get it. It's a lot different than the players. Because for the coaches, it's a job. Better job opens up. They come calling. You want the job? You're going to take the job. It's the way it works. Look, when I left Panther Valley and moved on to Golf Tech, I enjoyed my time in Panther Valley. It was great.
Yeah.
But when Golf Tech came calling, I don't want to turn that down. For me, it was a better opportunity. More money, better opportunity. So I don't blame these coaches that are moving on to better programs because you're going to get more money and a better opportunity. Especially if it is, a place that you were successful at and you want to go back to as a head coach. In that case and in GMAC's case.
You see, I'm looking at this right now in front of me. There's 45 coaching changes in Division I men's basketball right now. 45. That's almost the entire field in the NCAA tournament. There's 27 in D2. And I'm looking at D3 right now, and there's 16 in D3. And then there's JUCO and NAIA. 45 coaching changes in D1. Here's my thing. You said to the coach it's a job. But with players getting paid now, It's a job.
Yeah, but they're not getting paid to play.
They are.
They
are.
Remember, they're not supposed to be getting paid to play. They're getting paid for their name, image, and likeness. They're not supposed to be getting a salary.
It's supposed to be, but with schools buying into the NCAA settlement in the autonomy group and whoever else wants to buy into it, those schools are now paying the players because you're putting money aside in your athletic department in your school, and you're giving that money directly to the players. So they are getting paid to play now, which they said would never would happen. So it is a job to the players, and it is a job to the coaches. Here's the thing, and I've warned the players about this. If it's a job and you're an employee, you can get fired. Okay? These players going, you know what? The UNLV coach, or UNLV quarterback, pardon me, a couple of years ago, what did he do? Played 4 games. The team's doing great. And he goes, I'm going to redshirt myself. Which I still, in NCAA, nobody can tell me that that's a thing, that you can actually redshirt yourself, that that's a school decision, not a you decision. You can't decide you're a redshirt and then start negotiating with other schools and go somewhere else. But this kid took himself out of the season. Okay? So where does his NIL money go? Does he have to pay it back? Like, how does all this work out? Here's the thing. If you do that, if you tell your employer you're not working anymore, you get fired, which means you don't make your money. Whatever you made for what you worked, fine. But the other 8 games, you're not getting that money. The NIL, you're not getting that money. If I'm a dealership and I got you as and I'm paying that quarterback $1.2 million, he's not getting $1.2 million if he leaves 4 games in. That ain't happening. You get paid for being out there. You get paid for being on the team. If you get injured, that's not your fault. But if you decide to vacate your job, what job pays somebody for leaving? Now, you might take a severance pay. You might negotiate a deal. You might do a Bobby Bonilla, right? But more often than not, when you leave, that's it. Okay? The contract is over. So these players need to understand something. You can get fired. And it's already happening. It's already happening. Because coaches are looking at their roster at the end of the year, and coaches are saying, you're going in the transfer portal. What do you mean, coach? I don't want to leave. I don't want you on my team anymore. I thought you were a good wide receiver. You're not. You're wasting a spot on my... Goodbye. Fran Brown has said 2 years in a row, some of my kids will go in the portal because they go in the portal, and some of my kids will go in the portal because I'm going to tell them to go. Some of it's going to be my decision, some of it's going to be their decision. That's firing. That is firing. That's what that is. That's me sitting down going, okay, I got 6 quarterbacks. I don't like these 4. So I don't care what you do with the rest of your life, but you ain't going to do it here. That's firing. This is what people have to understand. Coaches are hiring and firing. That's what's going on. Now, do coaches have to have... Listen, I'm going to paint you a picture. I'm a Syracuse guy. Okay? I was born and raised. So I'm coaching at Kansas. I'm an associate head coach at Kansas. Gerry calls me, says, Dan, I love your morals. I love your values. I love what you stand for. I've seen the work that you've done. You're great X's and O's. You might have not played the game at a D1 level, but you damn know the game. So can you come be my associate head coach? And I just got to Kansas a year and a half ago. Now, I recruited all these kids. So it's my responsibility to figure it out. Now, how can I say no to home? So I'm probably going to go home.
And nobody would blame you.
But I got to talk to these kids.
Yeah.
And I got to sit down with them because I told their mothers and their fathers that they were safe in my charge. So you got to think about something. What is your holy charge? And my charge is to take care of these kids. If I'm going to leave for something better for me, I'm going to displace these children because I don't know what coach is going in. I don't know if he's going to like them. And some coaches come in and you could be the best player on the planet, but you're not their guy, and they don't want to give credit to me by playing you. Because if they keep you and they put you on the court and I recruited you, I'm at Syracuse, but I'm still getting credit for Kansas. And this guy comes in with a massive ego, and Pete walks in and goes, we ain't doing that. Go with him to Syracuse or go somewhere else. So I have to understand the decisions I make as a coach are going to affect this child potentially for the rest of his life. So I'm not saying that coaches can't make decisions and players can't make decisions, but it's how you handle it. It's how you go about it. Because I'm not going to carry it out in public. Okay? The Lane Kiffin thing, I don't know if Lane Kiffin loves drama, but it seems to be everywhere he goes that it's a big to-do with where's Lane going next. He's not even coached a game at LSU, and I'm wondering when's he going to leave? When's a better job coming?
When's Alabama coming?
Because Lane seems to be in these places where it somehow becomes all about Lane. And I haven't seen him try to stop that. Maybe he has. I don't know. I don't know him. I'm not going to speak for him. But I'm going to say that it shouldn't have been about Lane for the last 4 weeks of the season. But it was. So there's a way to handle things. If I was going to go to Syracuse from Kansas, I'm not talking about it. I'm not talking about it. Gerry McNamara did not talk about it. There was people in the media. I'm going to say this to you, Murph, and you're probably going to shake your head. There were people in the media that I overheard at the press conference for the new AD at Syracuse that were going, why wouldn't Gerry answer the question? Why wouldn't he tell us what he was doing? Why wouldn't this guy do this? Why wouldn't it? They wanted to know why. I'm sorry, it wasn't Gerry. It was Brian Hodgson. My apologies. They wanted to know why Brian Hodgson wouldn't give them an answer about where he was going next while he was coaching South Florida in the NCAA tournament. And I said, why does the media think? Brain, okay? Take your brain down to peanut size of a T-Rex. Why would I, as a coach, tell you that I'm going to go to another school next year when I'm at this school right now trying to win a championship with these kids? Why are they going to buy into my program if I say, hey, no matter what happens here today, I'm out? Why would you want to play for me? Could you imagine going into a business, like me working at a radio station, and me going up to my boss and going, hey, I took a job at ESPN down the road, and I'm working at Fox, and I was like, hey, I'm taking a job at ESPN down the road. I'm going to sit here for the next 3 weeks, but I ain't doing, I'm going to do what I got to do, but I can't wait to go to ESPN, and it's all over the news, and there's a billboard. I'm on Fox Radio, but there's a billboard on 81 for me on ESPN that says May 1st, 2026. Why the hell would Fox want to keep me while I'm promoting myself somewhere else? You keep your mouth shut until you can, you do. My parents said, always have a plan. If you're going to leave a job, have another job lined up. But you don't talk about it. And why the media thinks that they own the rights to that, because they don't care if they ruin somebody else's life. They don't care if you're covering Syracuse, you don't care if South Florida loses a tournament game because it's not your team. It's not your beat. That's where most media go wrong. Because I'm thinking about the kids in South Florida and I'm thinking about the kids in Syracuse. I'm not just thinking about, this is my hometown, this is my home. I happen to cover South Florida, but I'm just saying. Common sense tells you there's a way to go about it. Yes, you're going to be a coach. You're going to get an opportunity. You're going to want to take it. I get that. But I'm going to give you a real world example, Murph. I was working at a radio station and I was leaving. And I gave my 2 weeks notice. Some of the bosses there thought I was going to be like everybody else. And I was going to sit on my hands for 2 weeks, accept my paycheck, do nothing for them because I'm not going to be there to collect the commission and I'm not going to be there for any of that. So I'm just going to sit here and I'm not going to make any phone calls. And I gave my 2 weeks at a time where we were doing our biggest thing of the year. We were signing our biggest partnerships of the entire year, $10,000 a piece. So people thought that I was just going to camp out, take my paycheck and leave. I raised $56,000. on those plans. In my last 2 weeks, I raised almost $60,000. I made phone calls. I did extra stuff. I got extra money. I got involved. I was a part of the team. And when I decided I was leaving, I called my clients individually and I told them that I was leaving. I never told them to leave the business. I never told them to not be a part of it. But I said to them, I am leaving and I don't want you to find out from anybody else. And I don't want you to feel like you were lied to. And I don't want you to feel like you were led down a path. I'm deciding to do something that's right for me, but I have to tell you so that you can decide what's right for you. So I did right by the business I was at. I worked my butt off like I always do. And then I was honest with my clients. And that's the only thing I'm asking coaches to do. Work your butt off until the last final moment at that job. Be respectful to your clients, your players, before you go to do the next thing. Because what you show me at your current place and how you leave, if I'm the team that's getting you, how you leave says something to me about how you're going to leave me someday. You should leave things just as well as if you were going to stay there for the next 20 years. And that's the one note that I would make. Don't ever leave a place screwing people over and have the other place think it's not going to happen to them. There's people that have track records, Murph, that you and I have watched through sports, and it always seems like they do things dirty or they do things right. Gerry didn't say a word about Syracuse, and I respect that. So I'm not saying coaches can't leave, but there's a way that you handle your clients. There's a way that you handle your personnel. Because if you just walk out and you don't respect them, it looks like you used all those people as chess pieces to get a better job, and then you just took the chessboard and flipped it over. And that's not how you treat people.
100%. And, you know, it's the reason why I can't stand the fact that college football coaches get announced as leaving and going somewhere else before bowl season starts.
Mm-hmm.
You want to say John Summerall's going to the Florida Gators, Lane Kiffin's going to LSU the day after the season's over? By all means. You could have already negotiated with him. He takes the job. People don't need to know.
Yeah.
People don't need to know. That coach needs time to tell his athletes, tell his players, tell the staff at the school that he's leaving. You know, and I tell you what, I give some of these coaches credit, like John Summerall, like Alex Golish. Yeah, they had their introductory press conferences at the schools they were going to. They went back. They were coaching their team. I listened to something John Summerall was talking about. He was preparing. He was getting prepped for their game in the playoff, while he was also having meetings with his new coaching staff in Florida.
He was on Zoom.
So he would have it.
I was on the call. He was literally in a room on the campus of the University of Florida doing a Zoom with us media about the upcoming Tulane game at the time in the American Championship. He was talking to us about preparing Tulane and being ready for that game, and then he left the Zoom call and like a half an hour later walked on stage at the University of Florida. He was literally taking care of his team while he was talking about taking care of his team. He had to try to, and he talked about it. Talked about like trying to keep kids at Tulane and keep them like believing it. Like he wanted to help Tulane while he was recruiting at Florida. Where other coaches would be like, I'm just going to help myself and screw Tulane, screw where I'm at. He didn't do that. He was like, I'm going to stay. I'm going to try to win a championship. I'm going to try to get the college football playoff, and I'm going to see it through. And at the same time, I'm going to make phone calls. I'm going to talk to whoever I got to talk to. You want to put a donor on the phone? You want to put a recruit on the phone? He was doing 2 jobs at once. And I've never experienced that in my life, that a guy is literally sitting with his orange tie on, talking about Tulane, and then getting up and walking across the stage in Gainesville. but he didn't want to disrespect the players he had or the players he was going to have. And yeah, he might have lost some players might have left Tulane because he was leaving, even though he didn't want them to leave. And he might have lost some players at Florida because they wanted him to just jump headfirst into Florida and they didn't want to wait on him. But the reality of it all is, for that man to say, I will do everything I possibly can to the end of the road of Tulane before I start a road with Florida, if for nothing else, Florida fans, that should let you know that you have a coach of integrity.
Yeah, and that's the one thing I already love about him, and you know, I respect the hell out of that. So for me, you know, although I disagree with the hire, I absolutely respect him for that. That is something that more coaches need to do, but at the same time, they shouldn't have to.
Right.
We shouldn't know that he's going to Florida. We shouldn't know that Alex Golish is going to Auburn, right?
Yeah. Yep.
We shouldn't know Lane Kiffin's going to LSU. We shouldn't. Honestly, what Lane Kiffin did to Ole Miss, that was messed up.
Yeah.
Hindsight, I'm kind of glad we didn't hire him. You know, yeah, he was my first choice, and he was the best coach on the board. But if he's going to do that, now granted, based on what we have heard, it sounds like he wanted to continue doing his job at Ole Miss, but they wouldn't let him. That's what it sounds like. I don't know what's true or not. I don't know that we will ever know what's true.
Yeah, they both came out. Like North Texas, Eric Morris allegedly had wanted to stay for the bowl game when they didn't make the CFP. And I know their AD very well, Jared Mosley, and I was talking with him, and when we had the conversation about it, he said, like, as much as he wanted to stay, they both kind of deemed that it was just kind of better off that they went to the next chapter. So I want to give Eric Morris some credit, because from the athletic director himself, I mean, Jared told me Eric wanted to be here and coach the bowl game, but the amount of time in between, it just kind of made sense that we shift and he shifts. So, I mean, credit to that too, that Morris wasn't like, well, if I make the CFP, I'll stay, but if I don't, I'm out. He was like, I'm coaching the last game. And then North Texas was like, we appreciate that, but it's okay. Because, you know, for him to go to Oklahoma State and do what he needed to do.
Yeah. And it was just a bowl game too. Like, the difference with Summerall is, like, he's coaching in the college football playoff. Right? Like, you're trying to win a championship. A bowl game's just that at this point. It's just a bowl game. And we've talked about this on the show plenty of times.
Yeah.
The non-New Year's Six and the non-college football playoff bowl games just don't have any real meaning anymore. The amount of players that are sitting out from both sides at any given game is kind of ridiculous. So, you know, I get North Texas saying, like, listen, you know, it's not that big a deal. If they're in the playoff, then yeah, he would have wanted to coach, and they would have let him coach.
Yeah.
That's what happened with Summerall at Tulane. So, you know, knowing all that, honestly, that's something, you know, it's something that you don't see enough out of coaches. And, you know, I wish Lane Kiffin would have done it, but it sounds like the university didn't want him to, which I think is stupid on Ole Miss's part. But, you know, ultimately we are where we are, and we'll see. It's, I don't know, it's tricky.
Yeah. By the way, when we tell people don't believe all the news that you hear, and some people might have a source and the source isn't right, you know, and you trust the wrong source, which you hope you never do. Sometimes people just outright lie. They said Rick Pitino wasn't going to renew his contract and he was going to leave. You know, that he wasn't going to be at St. John's. So that comes out, St. John's loses, and they're like, well, St. John's isn't going to have Rick Pitino. Now apparently Rick Pitino's signing a deal that's going to extend him through the 2029-30 season and includes a pay raise, which will make him the Big East's second highest paid coach. So I just find it really funny in these moments where people are like, Rick Pitino's leaving, and then it's like, Is he retiring? He's not going to extend. And then literally the next day, maybe not even 24 hours, they're like, nope, he's staying at St. John. Why would he leave? And by the way, I was on the call with Tom Izzo after Michigan State lost to UConn, and somebody asked him where he sees himself in the next 5 years. And he said, being a national champion. Because
that's a great answer.
He knew what he was being asked. You know, coach, I mean, whether the guy meant to ask him this or not, I'm not going to speak for the guy because I don't like speaking for people, even though people love doing that in today's world. I'm not going to speak for the reporter. When he asked the question, it makes you think, you know, are people wondering if he's going to retire? Are they wondering if he's tired of the game, right? Because these coaches that we love, all of a sudden we start treating like they're old people and we want to take them out to pasture. The game is better with Tom Izzo. The game was better with Coach K. I'm not knocking John Shire. Please don't think that. I'm just stating the game is better with Coach K. It's better with Jay Wright. It's better with Jim Boeheim. It's better with Tom Izzo. It's better with Jim Calhoun. I like the Dan Hurleys and the John Shires. I'm happy for Gerry McNamara coming in. I'm not saying any of that stuff. I'm just saying I've been spoiled to not only cover Hall of Fame coaches, but I've interviewed them. I've interviewed Coach K numerous times. I've sat in Jim Boeheim's office and talked to him for over a decade. I've interviewed Roy Williams. I've talked to him on and off the air. He's a very sweet man. I've interviewed Tom Izzo. I've interviewed Jay Wright. I've interviewed Dan Hurley. Like, I've gotten to do it. I've interviewed Rick Pitino. So, I mean, the game's better with these guys in it. And when he was asked the question, it was kind of like him going, whether you're asking or not, I'm not thinking about retirement. I got a lot more game in me. And this school deserves another championship, and I'm going to see it through. So I love Tom Izzo's answer because it was kind of like because at the end of the season, well, coach, you've been coaching for 20 years, or coach, you're 70, or coach, you're this. Rick Pitino, I hope he lives to be 150. He's going to die in the chair. And with Tom Izzo's answer, I was like, thank God, because we've lost so many good coaches to a world that's gotten really friggin' weird in collegiate athletics and confusing and very individualistic. And the fact that Tom Izzo doesn't want to leave, every college sports fan, every sports fan, every basketball fan, every Michigan native, whoever, wherever, whatever, Tom Izzo being the head coach of Michigan State is not a bad thing. And I don't think it's ever going to be a bad thing. So the fact that I was on that call and he was like, where am I going? What am I going to do? This is my job. I loved that he said that. I loved that he didn't shy away from it. He didn't say, I got to think about it. He was like, let me be clear. We need to win another championship. Not even we need to, we're going to. And I'm going to be here. And I want the same thing out of Rick Pitino, which I think we got in the fact that he's going to be the head coach for at least the next, 4 seasons? I love it.
Yeah. I'm a little surprised. I honestly didn't know how much longer Rick Pitino had. And it's nothing against him. You see it in his face sometimes. He looks like he's getting tired. But at the same time, you can also see how much he loves his guys and he loves his team.
Yeah.
I just want to mention, we're obviously about to get into it, but I want to talk a little bit about that game against Duke the other night.
Yeah. Hold it for 1 sec. We're going to take a step aside. I'm going to let Murph Ryan Seacrest us into the break. So Murph is going to talk about Duke UConn. If you want
after this.
There it is. There it is. I was like, you got to say it, not me. We'll be back.
Here's a message from Renee from Bryan's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York. Open Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and Sundays for brunch.
It's a lot like the way that my mom and dad ran their restaurant. We have put in place a lot of people that are family to us, very similar to how my dad hired people that were family to him. And then the tradition I'm carrying on is a lot of the items that are on our menu are my dad's. And he taught our chefs how to recreate his dishes. So I think that Tommy McNerney, who our executive chef is, to him it is an art. And I think that when he does create a dish, it's not just about making the food taste delicious, which is definitely our priority, but it's an art to him, and it's almost like his canvas on a plate where he just wants the colors to look great, and people love it because he takes pride in that. And Brian and I appreciate that. We want it to obviously look good and taste good. I will tell you, when we opened up, it was 6 weeks before COVID. And what was amazing was the community, our friends and family stepped up, and everybody did takeout. Everybody supported us. Our hearts were just so filled. So to Brian and I, obviously our friends come all the time, and we just have repeat customers in Jamesville, and I think people going to our previous restaurant in Green Lakes are making the trip to come to Brian's Landing to support us. And I mean, I think we have great food and a great atmosphere. So it's very, very important to us.
Head to Brian's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York, where memories have become recipes that are now meals to share with you. Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and on Sundays for brunch. And be sure to come out for live music Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Life gets busy, and sometimes that means us running around. So K9 Camp Dog Daycare offers you an opportunity to give your dog a place to stay while you take care of what you need to throughout the day. K9 Camp Dog Daycare is located on 228 Old Bridge Street in East Syracuse, New York. You can see it from the highway, and it's just off of Erie Boulevard across from BJ's Wholesale Club. Call 315-437-7110. That's 315-437-7110 to schedule an appointment to bring your dog in and tour the facility. Appointments are Monday through Thursday after 6:30, where you and your dog can see everything that K9 Camp Dog Daycare has to offer, including a self-serve dog wash and a retail store filled with all of your dog's wants and needs, including food, treats, harnesses, leashes, and more, making K9 Camp Dog Daycare your one-stop shop for your furry loving friend. Right, Lily? In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you. Avicoli's Restaurant, located on 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York, has been serving our community for decades. Your place to go for home cooking on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road is just minutes from Liverpool High School. And every single month, Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is on site, on location, with Liverpool sports, student athletes, coaches, and administration telling their stories throughout the year. We look forward to seeing you on site at Avicoli's for their casual pizza side, their fine dining, as well as their bar. And of course, you can order online at myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com. For takeout, delivery, and catering, call 315-622-5100. That's 315-622-5100. Come on in to the neighborhood spot Avicoli's, open 7 days a week in Liverpool, New York. K9 Campground Dog Boarding is your home away from home for your furry loving friends. Open 7 days a week with drop off and pickup times in the morning and later on in the day and early evening. K9 Campground Dog Boarding is the spot to trust with your dog for short and long-term stays. Call 315-299-4013 for more information. That's 315-299-4013, and go to k9campground.com as well. That's K, the number 9, KAMP ground.com, where you will find all of the information on their different cabins, which include the classic cabin, executive cabin, grand cabin, and luxury cabin. K9 Campground Dog Boarding, where your dog will have indoor and outdoor areas as well as their own private cabin for any size, any breed, as well as dogs with different needs. Dog parents and dogs alike choose K9 Campground Dog Boarding. Isn't that right, Lily? Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
Hey everybody, this is Rockney Roberts from Willow Rock Brewing Company. We are here in Cicero at the Willow Rock Pizza Pub.
And I'm Kevin Williams, also from Willow Rock Brewing Company. Happy to be here and happy to be partnering with CNS and Dan Tortora.
You want some place where you can feel comfortable and hopefully ingratiate yourself with the community. And Kevin, he grew up right down the road from here. I grew up in Brewerton, so not too far away. We know the area, we know the people, they're great, and we were just really excited to be able to come to the area.
Yeah, and having the opportunity to meet some of these coaches, some of the people in general already, and seeing the CNS colors kind of around, and already partnering on a smaller level with individual teams really made this make sense to us to really formalize kind of a partnership with the school and get this rolling.
You know, Willow Rock to me has always been about high quality beverages, high quality experiences, and now high quality food in our pizza pub. You know, that was something new for us when we came to Cicero. Right from the drop, we knew we were going to have a focus on the highest quality food to go with our high quality beer. At the Willow Rock Pizza Pub, you're getting high quality, hand cut, top notch ingredients. We're open for lunch. That's a really important thing for us, is to be able to get that person in here like, hey, you only got 30 minutes for lunch, but we're gonna have something for you that you can get quickly and available to everybody.
Yeah, we wanted something that was just a little bit outside the box, a little bit outside of comfort zone, but still something that you could rely on to be consistent and easy to look at and easy to be like, oh, I can see myself eating this. I can see myself wanting to have that more than once. Eating a whole pizza like our beef on weck pizza, I've never seen one anywhere. It's just a great ideas, great inspiration across the board. We're their spot to stop. We're their friendly neighborhood watering hole, as well as pizza place and place to stop for a restaurant. Not just beer drinkers here. We've got wines, we got cocktails, we got non-alcoholic stuff for the kids.
The location is more important today than it ever has been before, and we're lucky enough to be here in Cicero. The Willow Rock Pizza Pub is a place where you can bring your family. You can come in, you can grab a soda, you can relax. You can come after a game, before a game, your parents, your grandparents. Our goal is to make sure that everyone's comfortable here. We want students, we want athletes, we want your coaches. It's going to be a good time. So come here, enjoy the high quality food, high quality beverage that we're going to offer to everybody, and hey, go North Stars.
We're so happy to have the North Stars. We are very much a kid-friendly establishment. We have tons of space outside for everybody to be playing outside, as well as listening to live music, enjoying some pizza.
The Willow Rock Pizza Pub is open 6 days a week here in Cicero. That is Tuesday through Sunday. And our website is willowrockbrew.com, and our socials are at Willow Rock Brew. So find us on the net, find us in person. We'll see you soon.
Murphalation Station here with me. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, hanging out inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. You want a ride that you can have for every season. And we know that it gets cold out here, the snow gets crazy. Honda is a product that's not only affordable, but it's safe. So make sure you get there. How do I know? I've been buying I've been jumping into Hondas for a very long time, going over there, grabbing my cars for over a decade, and the way the Honda CR-V was literally set up and built arguably saved my life and kept me from being paralyzed when I was hit by a drunk driver in New York City. So shout out to Honda for being a lot of things to me. Head to Great Lakes Honda City today, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday for sales and service all the time at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Murph and I got some things to talk about, and I'm going to let him take it away as he was going to, before the break, jump into this. UConn and Duke played yesterday. They were the last game to decide who was going to the Final Four. Coming out of the East bracket, and Duke was up by as many as 19 points. Then Braylon went forward into his shot, let it go with, I believe, under 3 seconds. And I'll let Murph take it from there. 2 seconds, I think,
something like that.
Yeah, I'll let Murph take it from there.
So I actually wasn't going to talk about that yet. I was getting to that. I wanted to bring up the St. John's game.
Go where you wanted to go. Yeah.
So obviously we're talking a little bit about Rick Pitino. I want to talk, before we got into the UConn game, I want to talk about the St. John's game. I sat there, my dad and I sat on the couch watching that game. Was it Friday night they played? And, watching it start to finish, he and I kind of sat there like every time Duke got into the paint inside of 8 feet, they did not miss. Doesn't matter if they were getting fouled, doesn't matter if they were off balance, acrobatic, they didn't miss. And he and I are just sitting there and we're like, this team is just ridiculous. St. John's played what I'd argue is a near perfect game of basketball on Friday night. And just got beat by a better team and ran out of time.
Yeah.
Duke was the better team, but it was not very far off. There's no reason that St. John's should have been a 5 seed. They should have been at least a 3 or maybe even a 2 seed and not have even had to worry about playing Duke in the Sweet 16.
And should not have been in the same bracket as UConn.
No! And a lower seed than UConn.
Yeah. Beating them twice.
So St. John's beats a team by, let me rephrase that, blows out a team to win the Big East Championship. Won 2 of the 3 meetings during the year.
Won by 20 in the Big East title.
Yeah.
20.
Blew them out. Now that team's going to the Final Four. Granted, yes, they beat the team that beat St. John's.
Right.
But let's be honest.
But would they have beaten St. John's again? That's the question.
I don't think so. If St. John's played the way they did against Duke, UConn was not beating them. Duke did not look nearly as good as they did on Friday night. UConn did not win that game. Duke lost that game. They were up almost 20 points with, I want to say it was like 12 minutes left. Something like that.
Yeah, they're up by 19, as high as 19 in this game, and somehow, some way,
they beat themselves.
Duke let them back in. I mean, and it's John Shire was. I think that John Shire, like something in him, like this game, this run, I think has it's done something to John. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying like he's always that kind of like baby face, smile, fun, this and that. I feel like this way that they lost this game, this has put something like the evolution of John Shire is what I'm going to say. Like what is he going to look like after this? Because I was on that call and yeah, I also couldn't believe that the media didn't even want to ask John or Cam Boozer questions. I will never pass an opportunity to interview Duke. I respect the heck out of him.
Yeah, and then, the play at the end of the game, obviously we talked about that. That's not the thing that lost them this basketball game. Yes, it is on paper. But the thing that lost them this basketball game is lack of defense, lack of scoring ability in the final 5 minutes of the game, and letting UConn back in it. UConn's not a team you let back into a game. If you are putting them away, put them away.
Yeah.
That's how St. John's beat them twice this year. Because if you don't put them away, they're going to step on your throat. That's what they did in the game that they beat St. John's this year. But the bottom line is all three of these teams got screwed by their brackets. And, I'll give Dan Hurley and UConn credit for, making it out of the East region, which was by far the toughest region in the tournament.
Dan Hurley will be a Hall of Famer. John Shire will be a Hall of Famer. Tom Izzo is a Hall of Famer. Rick Pitino is a Hall of Famer. Come on. And Bill Self is a Hall of Famer.
The fact that all of those teams were in that region, it was absurd.
They put the majority of the Blue Bloods in one region.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell they were thinking.
And then told Duke it was the easiest road.
Yeah, right. Now, if Duke took care of business, they would have gotten through with no problem.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they did not lose to UConn. They beat themselves.
They gave them a chance. They kept opening the door.
They kept them in the game.
And by the way, St. John's did that too. St. John's did that with Kansas. St. John's let that door stay open against Kansas that they should have slammed.
Hell, they even did it to Duke.
Yeah.
They're up by 10 or 12 or whatever with, at the beginning, somewhere in the middle of the second half, like 10 minutes left. Now, again, they didn't blow that lead. Duke put their foot on the gas and just started. They hit 3 after 3 after 3 and then just made everything. And I don't know that Duke missed a shot inside of 8 feet in that entire game. All game long. And I would be shocked if they did.
There's certain teams that are never out of games. Kansas, UConn, Michigan State, Duke, St. John's now. There's certain teams that it doesn't matter the score. Probably Michigan. There's certain teams where it genuinely doesn't matter what the score is with 6 minutes left, 10 minutes left. It doesn't matter. I mean, Duke is a team that could be down by 40 and win. Like, there's games you shut off. Like when Syracuse is losing by 30 to UConn, they were losing. When Duke is losing by 20 to North Carolina, it's like, watch the last 30 seconds. They're probably going to win. Like,
the thought came through my head, man. St. John's up 10. I'm like,
there's
this
certain
is Duke.
teams that are
This
never
game is
dead.
not over.
Yeah, there's certain teams that are never dead. UConn is... Here's the thing about UConn. They win back-to-back national titles. They don't win a third one in a row, and people stop talking about Dan Hurley. There's people that literally... I feel like...
They lost to the national champion last year, folks.
I feel like the air around UConn going into this tournament was like, has the tournament passed them? Is the Dan Hurley era over? Like, that's what it... And I could be totally wrong, but that's what it felt like. Not how I feel, but that's how it felt. It felt like people were already going, well, Hurley had his shot. And now UConn's on the back nine, not the front. And I'm looking at this and I'm going like, look at what Duke
They're
did.
on the fifth hole, folks.
Yeah. Look at what Duke did. Like, Duke is a great team. Look at what Tennessee did. They made 3 Elite Eights in a row. They've never made the Final Four, but they made 3 Elite Eights in a row. And it's like, well, Rick Barnes, what are you going to do? You coming back next year? And he's like, yeah. So it's like, I mean, the teams that lost are still good. Like, Purdue's still good. Tennessee's still good. I mean, folks, UConn, Duke, whoever won that.
Guys, it's one game.
Arizona's dangerous.
Anything can happen in one game.
Michigan, listen, you might look at this and say there's 3 1s and a 3 seed. Or there's 2 1s, a 2 seed, and a 3 seed. So it feels like the usual suspects. But Illinois a lot of people probably didn't have Illinois coming out of that bracket. There's people that didn't have UConn coming out of that bracket.
No, I had Houston. I had
Right.
Houston coming out of that bracket.
You might have had Arizona. You might have had Michigan. But, like, the real is that Michigan hasn't won in a while. Arizona hasn't won in a while. Illinois is not a team that you're expecting. The only team of the four that made it that's, like, recent success is UConn. So, and UConn will if UConn beats Illinois, they'll probably be the underdog to Michigan or Arizona to some people. Like, it's crazy that people look at this and they're like, oh, well, there's 2 1s, a 2, and a 3. And it's like, yeah, but 75% of the teams that make it haven't been making it. Michigan, Arizona, Illinois haven't been making it. So as much as people want to say this is boring, it's blue bloods, no, it's not. Like, Michigan, Arizona, Illinois, this is not normal for them. UConn, it has become normal for them. And UConn should be the favorite, but I'm telling you right now, they're probably not.
I don't agree that UConn should be the favorite. I really don't. I don't think UConn's that good. UConn was overseeded. They should
were
have been
overseeded.
They should have been at best a 3 seed.
They were
at
overseeded.
best a 3 seed. Now, granted, they were the lowest ranked 2 seed.
Yeah.
But they should not have been a 2 seed.
No.
They should have been at least a 3. In my opinion, they should have been a 4. You know, after the way they lost to St. John's in the Big East Championship. So, obviously, there was talk, early in the year about them, being a number 1 seed.
Yeah.
And it was going to come down to Florida and UConn for that last number 1 seed. And obviously, Florida got it and UConn got a 2.
Yeah.
But, to me, I never thought UConn was that good this year.
But the bigger issue is, like, it's St. John's, UConn. There was 3 teams from the Big East that made the NCAA tournament. There are 4 brackets. There are 3 teams that made it. You put the top 2 teams in the same bracket, and Villanova was in the West, but it's like, so you can't even sit here and say, well, we put them in the East because they're Northeast, because you put Villanova in the friggin' West. But, like,
they played in California.
Right. And Syracuse has had to go out there before. Syracuse had to play,
They're in the East region. They played their first 2 games in California.
Right. So here's the thing. My bigger question to you that I really want to address this morning is, why did the committee why did they punish the Big East? Because you have a good St. John's team and a good UConn team that played for a Big East title, and then you put them in the same bracket to face each other in the Elite Eight if St. John's were to win. So no matter what, one was going to knock the other out. Why would they do that? Why would that be like yes, Illinois and Iowa, they were not the teams that you thought was going to make the 9 seed and the 3 seed to play each other, right? So that wasn't, but I'm just saying, when you look at Arizona and Houston weren't put in the same bracket. Okay? So that's a good example. Arizona and Houston in the Big 12 were not put in the same bracket. Michigan was not put in the same bracket as Purdue. So why were St. John's and UConn put in the same bracket? Why did the committee put those 2 teams in a situation by making sure that only one of them makes it? That's my question.
But the bottom line is, and I don't know if they understand it, the Big East and the ACC are by far the 2 best conferences in college basketball.
Yeah.
By far.
And
I would argue the Big East over the ACC.
Yeah.
But I can see the other side.
Well, look at how things shook out. Look at the Big East. Like, you give them 3 teams, you give them 4 teams, you give them 5, you give the Big Ten 9 teams a few years ago. You give them 9, one of them makes it. You give the ACC 4 or 5, and they go to the Final Four. You give the Big East 3 or 4, they go to the Final Four. They win a national title. Like, when they talk about, well, this conference is top, there's Duke and UConn are fan favorites to pick to win it all every single year of recent history.
Yeah.
So when people want to say the ACC is down or the Big East is down, when they play national tournaments, they beat almost everyone. And in the East bracket, they beat each other. Could you imagine if Duke didn't have to play UConn? Could you imagine if Duke played Iowa and Illinois played UConn? Now
They would've blown them out.
Now they're both in the Final Four.
But this is what I'm saying. I want to preface this, what I'm about to say with this. There's a big difference between talking about like the American in football or the Sun Belt or whatever other conference in college football. Because those conferences don't have teams that can compete for national championships. They don't. And I'm sorry to say it, but they don't. We saw what happened there this year. The Big East is not a group of 5 school.
No.
Or not a group of 5 conference.
They say autonomy. It's weird. In football, they say autonomy group, which is the Big 10, Big 12, ACC, SEC. Legislative term, not the power thing. Legislative term is autonomy group. That's who they are. That's the legal thing with the NCAA. So in college football, they say A4, right? That's what the head of the CFP says when he was on my show. I mean, that's what they say. So, but when they talk about Division I men's basketball, they say A4 plus 1, and that's the Big East.
It's the Power 5 again.
Yeah,
it's the Power 5.
With the Big East. Because
the Big East,
because they don't have football, they're a basketball conference.
I know. And that's what I'm saying. It's basketball conference. It's the reason why UConn is still independent in football.
Yeah.
The Big East, since it has come back, and I'm so glad it's come back, I really wish that you would put some of the OG Big East schools back in it. Although that would create a problem for football. If you put Syracuse back in there, if you put Louisville back in there, you put schools like Pitt, you put all those schools back into the Big East, it would strengthen their hold on being the best basketball conference.
Yeah.
So, obviously, we talk all the time about which conferences are the best in sports.
Yeah.
In college sports. We talk about the SEC in football. We talk about the SEC and the Big Ten in football. When did we ever talk about the Big Ten in basketball? Yeah, they get more teams than they should.
Yeah.
But they got 2 of the Final 4. The Big 12 has a Final 4 team. And you know who else has a Final 4 team? The literal runner-up of the Big East.
Yeah.
They didn't even win the Big East.
Yeah.
And they're in the Final 4.
They lost by 20 to St. John's, and then they beat the number 1 overall seed in the NCAA tournament. But
who beat St. John's?
But Murph, this has long been said about the Big East. There's only one school, and here's the irony that I'm about to say because of who we're talking about. There's only one school that has won the Big East tournament in men's basketball and then won the NCAA tournament. And that's
UConn. And they've done it multiple times.
It never happened besides that moment because the Big East tournament arguably was more difficult from the NCAA tournament. And if you had to play 4 or 5 days, you got beat up so bad in the Big East tournament that by the time you got into the NCAA tournament, it was like they might lose in the first round because they got if Syracuse is playing UConn, Georgetown, and Louisville, and then they're like, hey, you got to go play Manhattan. It didn't matter who they had to go play. They were beat up. That's the thing about the Big East tournament. It was so hard to get through. That's why when I talk about the SEC, and they're like, how do the Big Ten teams make it farther than the SEC teams in the college football playoff? Because the SEC has to go through hell. The Big Ten can sleepwalk through most of their college football schedule. They can sleep. I think Penn State's going to win 10 games with a new coach this year because of their schedule. I can't say that about Alabama. I can't say that about Georgia. But I can say that about Penn State because it's right in front of my face. Ohio State plays a BS schedule, but that's reality. Why don't we talk about the fact that you can't get Syracuse won the 2003 national tournament. They won the NCAA tournament in men's basketball in 2003. But then Gerry McNamara and the team, without Carmelo, won the Big East tournament in 2005. and in 2006. But they didn't win the NCAA tournament the same year that they won the Big East tournament because it's almost impossible because you got the beat out of you.
It's a gauntlet. Do
It's
you
hard.
remember the year? Was it the Kemba year or was it Kevin Ali's team? Well, I think in both they were low seeds in the tournament. The 2014 specifically,
Yeah.
I think they were like a 9 seed in the Big East tournament, and they won 5 games in 5 days, and went nuts. The 6 overtime game against Syracuse was in 2011. That's the one. That's the other one I was thinking of.
Yeah.
But the team that Kevin Ali had to win that national championship, and they ran the gauntlet in the Big East.
Yeah.
Now, granted, this was OG Big East. This was Syracuse and UConn and Villanova and Georgetown and Pitt and Louisville. These were, this was still Rick Pitino's Louisville, right? That had just come. I believe 2013 is the year they won their national championship, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
so
I was there.
They were just coming off a national championship.
I was there for the championship that doesn't exist according to the NCAA. So I was there.
But yeah, like, that was a gauntlet. It's still a gauntlet. It's not the same as it was.
Yeah.
But it's still a gauntlet. You still got Villanova. You still have Georgetown. And I want to, I don't remember absolutely every team that's in the conference, so I just want to pull it up just so that I'm not, losing it here.
Yeah.
But
You got
Seton Hall
Providence
is still
Xavier,
always
all
good.
that. Yeah.
Xavier, Providence, Marquette,
Creighton.
Butler. Were these teams great this year? No, not really. The Big East was kind of top-heavy this year.
Yeah, it was. It was this year.
But that's this year. You got a UConn team that got dominated by St. John's in the Big East Championship. And dominated by St. John's, I think the first time they played, I'm trying to remember, I think, because St. John's won the first game. Let me see.
St. John's won the first game. St. John's won the first game, and then they lost the second game by 30.
They won the first game by 9.
And then they lost by 32, and then they won by 20.
Yeah. So, St. John's blows them out in the conference championship. They got a Hall of Fame coach. I get why the Big East only got 3 this year, because the rest of the conference was not that great this year. I'll give them that. But when you've got teams that have won multiple national championships over the course of the last 2 decades, 2 out of 3, 2 out of 4, who do you look to? Villanova.
Yeah.
And UConn. Duke hasn't done it. North Carolina hasn't done it.
Villanova won 2 championships.
Kansas hasn't done it.
Yeah, Villanova won 2 titles in the 2010s under Jay Wright. He was
They
voted
won
coach
2
of
out
the
of
decade.
3.
He was voted coach.
They won
of the
2 out
decade.
of 3 with the greatest, the most memorable 3-pointer to win it in the history of college basketball, not named Christian Laettner.
Yeah. By the way, will there ever be a heave that will ever work? And now when you see the heave from out of bounds, somebody tips it and then the clock runs out. Happened yesterday. Like, will we ever get to see someone actually be able to catch and shoot like Christian Laettner did? You know what I mean?
No, it's not happening. But yeah, like, ultimately, Florida didn't do it. Well, they did, but 20 years ago.
Yeah, Florida.
I said in the last 20 years.
Florida won back.
They're the only other team to do it.
They won back to back. I think they played UCLA
They're literally
both
the only
times.
other team to do it.
And Florida won back to back. I think it was both UCLA. One of them was the most boring championship I ever watched in my life. It was like 56-44 or something like that. It was so boring. I remember laying on the couch being like, why is this the championship?
But I'm looking at it here, just the list of teams that have, that won the national championship.
By the way, give Butler some flowers. They went to back-to-back national titles and they lost in but they made the national title. They were the runner up 2 years in a row, and one of those title games was a half court shot that rolled out of the basket.
I can't believe. Can you imagine if that ball went in?
Grayson Allen, baby.
Butler beat the big bad. That was Gordon Hayward that shot that.
Not Grayson Allen. That's who I meant.
It's Gordon Hayward.
I said it with my mouth. I meant Gordon Hayward.
I know.
I meant Gordon
I think
Hayward,
I know you meant, yeah.
Because I know
but
I've been around them both. My apologies, Gordon.
That's okay.
You never tripped anybody by pretending you had involuntary muscle spasms. So my fault.
But even looking, you go back all these years, Duke has won multiple national championships, but they haven't won since 2015. The one before that was 2010. Their one before that was 2001. They're not winning 2 out of 3, 3 out of 5.
Yeah.
North Carolina, they won in 05, they won in 09. That's about as close as they got. 2017 was their last one.
Yeah.
Right? Virginia's won a national championship. Nothing else.
Virginia won a national championship, and in the next year was the first number 1 seed to ever lose to a 16.
It was other way around.
Was it? Wait.
It was the other way around.
They go from 0 to hero?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought they lost the next year.
Only reason I know that is because when they did it, when Purdue lost a couple years later, I picked Purdue the next year to win the national championship because of what Virginia did. But yeah, the ones you look at, it's a Kentucky didn't do it. The only other one is Florida.
Yeah.
With that one back-to-back. You got to go back to Duke in the 90s.
Oh, you're right. That's crazy. I remember that back.
You got to go back to Duke in the 90s. You got to go back to UCLA in the 70s.
Yeah.
And that's it, man. You're not seeing all these teams.
My question is,
seeing all these teams do it?
When John Wooden was the head coach of UCLA, did anybody else play basketball at that time? Because he won 52 championships in a row.
1, 2, 3.
It felt like. He won 12 in a row.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 out of 10.
Okay.
Sorry. 10 out of 12.
Right. So in 12 years,
from 1964
to
1975, they only lost the national championship twice.
Yeah.
And lost a grand total. In the years they won, they lost a grand total of 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. They lost a grand total of 9 games in the years they won the national championship.
Yeah. Can I paint a picture here for a second? UConn is in the Final Four in 2026 in men's basketball. When Jim Calhoun led UConn to a national championship the year after Syracuse did it, which was back-to-back Big East champions in the national tournament, folks, to push our point even more. Syracuse won in 2002-3. UConn won in 3-4. Okay?
Was Maryland in the Big Ten yet?
No.
Because they won the year before.
No, because Maryland shifted when Syracuse was coming in. Maryland was going out of the ACC. So I think it was right before. Let me just paint this picture for you. So the Big East won back-to-back 2002-3, 3-4 in the national tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Calhoun's UConn Huskies went to the Final Four that year. Let's belabor our point more. The Final Four in 2003-4, 2 ACC, 1 Big East, 1 Big 12. 75% of the national Final Four in 2003-4 was ACC or Big East. Georgia Tech, Duke, UConn, Oklahoma State, the other team. UConn was a 2 seed, Duke was a 1 seed, and UConn beat them by 1 point. Fast forward to 22 years later, UConn a round before is a 2 seed, Duke is a 1 seed. UConn beats them by 1 point and goes on to win the national championship. I'm just giving you some history, and I'm just painting you a picture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're 100% right, dude. And we talk about this. The teams that win and create dynasties have been in the Big East.
Well, look at it. You say the ACC and the Big East are the best. Almost half of the ACC is from where? There's 7 Big East schools. There are 7 Big East schools. When the Big East was the best, I said the Big East was the best conference in basketball. And they're like last 2-3 years, I said they were the best, better than the ACC.
They were
better than anybody else. And then when
the ACC had Duke, North Carolina, that was it.
And then when the ACC became the best, I said, of course they became the best because they ate half of the best. So the Big East was the best. Then the ACC ate half of the the ACC with 15 schools. 8 were ACC, 7 were former Big East schools. You had, I'm going to try and do this without looking. You had the first run, which was BC, Virginia Tech, and Miami. They came in. So that's 3. Then you had the other 7. You had Syracuse, Notre Dame, Pitt, and then Louisville came the year after. Came in 2014. The other 3 came in 2013. So that's your 7. So you take...
So Louisville won their national championship when they were still in the Big East.
They won it in 13. Yes. So it was transitioning.
It was their last year in the Big East.
It was before the American had a name or a logo. I was with Mike Oresco because he was the Big East commissioner at the time before he became the American commissioner. But, so yeah, so when you look at this, just think about this, folks. The ACC brought in Syracuse after they won a national title. They brought in Louisville after they won a national title.
Immediately after they won a national championship.
Okay. So you got to think about the pedigree. Miami, coming from the Big East to the ACC, went to their first ever Final Four within the last 3 years. Then you bring in, and then you have Virginia Tech, who won an ACC tournament title within the last decade here. That was a former Big East school. You have Pitt, that has won the Coastal Division and won an ACC championship in football since coming from the Big East. So look at that. So Syracuse has been a national champion. Louisville's been a national champion. Miami has made it to the College Football Playoff National Championship. Miami has
won national champ. Well, not since, but yeah.
Yeah, Miami's been to the Final Four in the national tournament since joining the ACC. Pitt has won an ACC title in football since joining the ACC and been to 2 title games. So just look at that picture of what the ACC gained from the Big East in basketball and in football. So the Big East was the best. Then they lost 7 schools to the ACC. The ACC became the best. And now, even though the ACC is really good, with less schools, 11, the Big East has 2 of the best teams in the nation in St. John's and UConn. And then
I would argue two of the like 6 or 7 best teams.
Right. And then you
in
have
college basketball.
You have the Hold My Beer Villanova. You have the Hold My Beer Creighton. You have the Hold My Beer Butler. You have the Hold My Beer Marquette. If those teams ever come up the mountain again. You have the Hold My Beer Georgetown.
They will.
If they ever come up. And you got Brian Hodgson coming from South Florida promising that Providence is going to be a national contender. So
don't forget about Xavier too. Right? You get Richard Pacino coaching at Xavier. Xavier looks like they're getting better.
Yeah.
That whole conference is good, dude. Like their records didn't show it.
Yeah.
But out of conference, those teams play a gauntlet. UConn played Florida and beat them. The reigning defending national champions. They beat them.
You want to know why I didn't believe in Florida in the national tournament? They lost to Duke, UConn, and Arizona in non-conference play this year. So
why do you think I didn't pick them to win?
They proved to me that they couldn't beat the best teams in the country. So why the hell was I going to pick them to be the national champion when they already?
That's the reason I didn't pick them to win. Yeah. To be completely fair.
Yeah. I mean, they showed the world they're not a number 1 seed. Florida should have been a 3 seed. St. John should have been a 2 or a 3 seed.
Florida should have been a 2 seed at best. At best.
They should have been a 2 seed if they played in the SEC championship and lost. They lost in the SEC semifinal game, didn't play in the championship game, didn't win the championship game, lost to UConn, lost to Duke, lost to Arizona, and they're a 1 seed. And then St. John's wins by 20 in the arguable toughest conference in the nation, and they're a 5 seed in the middle of the toughest bracket. Like with
So
all
let me
due
just give you some perspective
it's
here.
crazy. Like, could you imagine
who-
though, if Duke,
yeah.
St. John's, Michigan State, and UConn were all in separate brackets this year?
Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm not going to sit here and say that UConn is the best team in college basketball because I don't think they are. I don't think they're going to win the national championship. But just take a look, listen to who they played in non-conference, right?
Yeah.
They played BYU and beat them, who was the 7th-ranked team in the country at the time.
Yeah.
They played Arizona and lost by 4 at home. Arizona's a very good basketball team in the Final Four.
Mm-hmm.
They beat Illinois at home. The team they're about to play for the to go to the national championship.
Yep.
They beat Kansas by 5. They beat Florida by 4.
Yeah.
Kansas, by the way, they beat on the road.
Yeah.
Florida, they beat at a neutral site. They beat Texas, who made some noise in the tournament this year.
A lot of noise.
Then you get into conference play. They beat Seton Hall, who was pretty good this year. They beat Villanova.
Who made the tournament?
They lose to St. John's.
Yeah.
Then they beat St. John's by 32. Then they beat Seton Hall again. Then you go into the Big East tournament. You lose to St. John's. But then you get to the tournament. You beat UCLA.
Yeah.
You beat Michigan State. And then you beat Duke.
Yeah. But think
Listen,
about
I'm not gonna. I still like I said. I don't think this team's winning the national championship. I firmly believe it's gonna be one of Arizona or Michigan.
Yeah.
However, if they do, nobody would be surprised.
But think about
Not one bit.
Think about the conference they
But
play
that's just who they played.
But that's the thing is, think about the conference they played in. And then think about the fact that Dan Hurley wanted to play that non-conference schedule. Think about the BS non-conference schedules that some people play. UConn played a non-conference schedule that ended up being the not only teams in the NCAA tournament, but prominent winning teams in the NCAA tournament. UConn arguably played 2 NCAA tournaments, one in non-conference play and one in the postseason.
Yeah.
So you can think whatever you want to think about UConn and Dan Hurley, but they played an NCAA tournament non-conference schedule, and then they played St. John's 3 times.
And I'm looking back at even who St. John's played.
Crazy.
Their out-of-conference schedule wasn't great. Now, granted, they didn't start the year well.
Yeah.
They lose to Alabama. They lose to Iowa State. They lose to Auburn. Those are 3 games that they probably could have won in non-conference. Right. And then they lose to Kentucky in December. Once the calendar flipped to 2026, they lose to Providence, and then they lose to UConn. Yeah. Other than that, before losing to Duke, they lost 2 games in 2026. All their losses were in November and December.
Yeah.
And, Pitino even said that. They got hot at the right time. It's probably why they were a 5 seed and not ranked higher. I still think it was stupid, but that's just me. But, guys, the Big East plays a tough schedule. Yeah. These teams in these other conferences, they want to play the Big East. Because the Big East is the best. Now, is the bottom of their conference better than the bottom of some other conferences? Who knows? We've talked about that with football. Mm-hmm. Who knows? Would DePaul beat one of the teams from the SEC that didn't make the tournament? Who knows?
They've gotten better.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
But I do want to say this. I don't want to hear that NIL in the transfer portal has made the Big East a better conference because they don't have football and they don't have to worry about money for football. I don't want to hear that because the Big East has been good for decade upon decade, well before there was ever NIL. So I don't want
Can I make a petition here? Obviously we don't have a ton of time left, but can I make a petition here that we get Big East football back and we get UConn into the Big East? Maybe we actually bring the old Big East back together.
I've talked about it. If they,
how much fun that would be?
If they do if they go where they're going with what I've projected about the SEC and the Big Ten and maybe a Clemson, Miami, Florida State, Notre Dame, if that all becomes a thing,
the ACC is going to fold.
I've argued that we will see Syracuse, Rutgers, maybe Maryland, Pittsburgh, UConn. I've argued that I have argued that Big East football is not out of the realm of possibility. I have argued that there is a day, I've said it on the show, go back and look, folks. I have stated that I believe there's a world where we get a Big East football again.
It would not. I want to see it because honestly, if we get that Big East, that Big Ten SEC thing that may or may not end up happening, they're not taking every single team.
No.
Rutgers ain't coming.
No.
It's like they're not coming. So, teams like that.
How long have I talked about that on the show, though? For how many years have I talked about
years?
How many years have I talked about the SEC Big Ten moving into their own?
And it very well could happen.
And
right? It very well could happen because the problem is the competitive balance in college football is nowhere near the same as what it is in other sports.
Yeah.
How often are you seeing teams from the group of conferences? It's not as much that in like basketball, baseball, and like softball.
Yeah.
But how often are you seeing teams in other sports from those conferences that maybe nobody knows about going and winning national championships?
I mean,
it happens all the time.
Right.
Literally,
in baseball,
Coastal Carolina
I was gonna say that.
made it to the College World Series final last year.
Yeah. I was going to say it about
They won a national championship.
East Carolina and Coastal Carolina. If you just go to the
They
Carolinas,
are great baseball schools.
Yeah, baseball has been great for East Carolina and Coastal.
They're great softball schools. Those teams specifically don't get enough love.
No.
They don't. Because in baseball, Coastal Carolina just played for a national championship.
Yeah.
They took out the Florida Gators in their regional. That's not an easy thing to do. Granted, Florida wasn't that good last year. But Florida's only 2 years removed from playing for a national championship against LSU.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, the SEC absolutely dominates college baseball. There's no question about that.
Yeah, we did the draft.
But how
it's like SEC in the first
literally
round of the MLB. But no, I mean,
But how many of those schools are you seeing?
I'll tell you this right now.
That are still, because there are plenty of teams from the Sun Belt, from the A10,
the American,
wherever, that can make runs in college baseball, in college softball, in lacrosse.
I'll tell you this right now.
Stony Brook women's lacrosse was a juggernaut forever. They just didn't win anything.
Right. Johns Hopkins in men's lacrosse. I mean, think about this. If
Seton Hall in basketball years ago.
Maryland in lacrosse. So I'm saying this right now. If football...
Quinnipiac in hockey.
Yeah. If football breaks away from all other sports, which will murder college forever, and that's why I didn't want to talk about it, but if football breaks away from all other college sports and it's basketball and the Olympic sports, we will get Big East football again.
Absolutely. 1,000%. Because Syracuse ain't going, Louisville ain't going, Rutgers ain't going, Maryland ain't going. There's some teams in the SEC that would probably come, and it would be fun to watch. Yeah. It really would be.
Yeah.
Is St. John's going to bring football back? Probably not, but that wouldn't be off. I doubt it would. I don't think it'd be off the table.
Georgetown has football in the FCS. Villanova has football in the FCS. Stands to reason maybe they would want to jump up in that case. We could see it.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, UConn.
We could see it.
UConn's had a couple good moments in football. They had a lot of bad moments in football, and so I mean, it's not like Villanova couldn't give them a run for their money in the last decade. So, and they gave Syracuse a run for their money in the Dome, and Villanova just played, mind you, in the Final Four of the FCS National Tournament. They just played in the Final Four. So, and they're joining the Patriot League now, which is going to boost them up even more because the Patriot League already has a bunch of talent. They're actually joining Georgetown in the Patriot League, which is going to be awesome to see Georgetown and Villanova now in another place together in football. So they got the Patriot League in football, and then they got the Big East in basketball.
Well, they'll have, like, who's in that conference? Lehigh, Lafayette.
There's a lot of good teams.
A lot of good teams in that conference.
Colgate.
So that'll just be, I'm assuming that's just for football, right?
Yeah, so the Patriot League's...
That's the one thing I don't get, is
now.
you got teams that are in one conference for one sport and another conference for another sport.
And different levels.
I know.
Levels. You got FCS, so you got you got the Big East as one of, if not the best conference in basketball, and then you have they're like one tier lower in football in FCS instead of FBS for Georgia.
Well, it doesn't even exist in
right.
college football.
But that's the thing, is it's like you think about that and you're like, it's a Division I sport, but you got them up here in men's and women's basketball, and then you have them one tier lower in football. So it's not like this stuff hasn't happened. And if Syracuse goes the way they're going, it would behoove them to be in the Big East in basketball and all other sports, and to be in the FCS or whatever it's going to be in football. It would actually stand a reason for Syracuse to go there and to be in a place where they could play in a 24-team tournament that's not the college football playoff that they're probably never going to make. So,
yeah.
It's just the way that things are. Let's take one final step aside. Murph and I giving you some extra time today. We're going to wrap up the show right after this. Stay with us. And we appreciate you being here inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. A lot of great conversation today, and we'll wrap it up right after this. And now a message from Myers Creek Brewing Company, with locations at their Cazenovia Farm Brewery, Syracuse Inner Harbor Tap Room, and soon-to-be Lake Placid Tap Room.
Well, I think first and foremost, the Feldmeyer family and our team are extremely passionate about what we do. We care very much about what we do. The Feldmeyer family is always investing. Our taproom management team, our brew management team, our marketing management team, and all of the team members that get after it every day, they leave it on the field. They put their heart and soul into it. I know for a fact that everyone that works at Myers Creek wants to be there, and we want them to be there. We want them to feel good about their job. And again, if you've never been to a Myers Creek, especially to the brewery, I want your eyes to open really big. I want you to see how big of a brand this is. I want you to see where we're going. The sky is the limit, and I feel very proud of that, and I'm very excited about that. When you think of designing a menu for a brewery, it's kind of open to a lot of different interpretations. You can do American, you can do Asian, you can do Italian, and you just have to find, how that meets that pub style dining experience, that gastropub vibe. And I think it's super fun for us because obviously we know that, everyone in the world's going to sell a pizza or a burger or a french fry, but what can we do to be different? And what can we do to be true to who we are? We are a brewery, a brew pub. So the flavor profiles are kind of all over the place. And I think it's super cool that we have a massive smoker at the brewery in Cazenovia, and we smoke a lot of our products. A delicious smoked turkey. We have barbecue ribs on Sundays. From a pulled pork sandwich to a chicken wing, you go to the Inner Harbor and you go to the Caz location, and you'll find similarities in the menu, but also things that are a little different, and also kind of fit those different demographics or different communities, and also hopefully just drive you to try every tap room that we have open at some point, because you get a little something different at each one. We understand how hard it is to work every day and get after it every day, and when you're done at the end of your day, you want to go out and put your feet up in a good ambiance and good environment. So we take pride in that. We make sure that everyone knows that they're very much valued to us.
Avicoli's restaurant, located on 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York, has been serving our community for decades. Your place to go for home cooking on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road is just minutes from Liverpool High School. And every single month, Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is on site, on location, with Liverpool sports, student athletes, coaches, and administration telling their stories throughout the year. We look forward to seeing you on site at Avicoli's for their casual pizza side, their fine dining, as well as their bar. And of course, you can order online at myavicolis.com. That's myAVICOLLIS.com. For takeout, delivery, and catering, call 315-622-5100. That's 315-622-5100. Come on in to the neighborhood spot Avicoli's, open 7 days a week in Liverpool, New York. K9 Campground Dog Boarding is your home away from home for your furry-loving friends. Open 7 days a week with drop-off and pickup times in the morning and later on in the day and early evening. K9 Campground Dog Boarding is the spot to trust with your dog for short and long-term stays. Call 315-299-4013 for more information. That's 315-299-4013, and go to k9campground.com as well. That's KAMP ground.com, where you will find all of the information on their different cabins, which include the classic cabin, executive cabin, grand cabin, and luxury cabin. K9 Campground Dog Boarding, where your dog will have indoor and outdoor areas as well as their own private cabin for any size, any breed, as well as dogs with different needs. Dog parents and dogs alike choose K9 Campground Dog Boarding. Isn't that right, Lily? Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
And a big time thanks to Chick-fil-A in DeWitt. Head out to Chick-fil-A in DeWitt today on the corner of Bridge Street and Erie Boulevard. You will find them there for you in what they're calling Nostalgia. Nostalgia is a take on the favorites that you love with a twist. Nostalgia is taking the nostalgia of Chick-fil-A and giving it some new twists, and that being the Jalapeno Ranch Club Chicken Sandwich and the Strawberry Hibiscus Beverages you can now get with all of your favorites on the menu at Chick-fil-A in DeWitt. Corner Bridge Street and Erie Boulevard. Double drive-through, giant brick building. You can't miss it. We'll see you at Chick-fil-A, and thank Megan Sorber and her team for being a part of this wonderful community. We're happy to have her and the whole squad at Chick-fil-A in DeWitt. With that being said, Murph and I got final notes here. As we get set in just a few hours, I will be on site, on location, by the grace of God, with Gerry McNamara for the introductory press conference and have the opportunity to speak with Mac about how the fact that we have the return of the Mac today on what I'm calling Gerry McNamara Day. I did want to make this note really quick. Philadelphia Eagles general manager Howie Roseman said this, quote, "I understand that there's interest in the A.J. Brown story. I unfortunately don't have a home under a rock. But my answer to any question on A.J. Brown is A.J. Brown is a member of the Eagles. From my perspective, anything you ask me about A.J. Brown, I'm going to go right back to that answer. But I understand the interest. I put on TV and I see that there's interest. But my answer is A.J. Brown is a member of the Philadelphia Eagles." End quote. Any thoughts, Murph?
That's the right answer. I mean, it's plain and simple. That's just the right answer. You don't talk about trading a guy, and unless it's unless the guy asks for a trade and you say, "Hey, we're going to try to find a trade partner."
Yeah.
You don't just say, you don't say that. It's like what the media is getting so dumb these days, man. What do you expect them to say? Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
He said what needed to be said. It's the correct answer.
Yeah. And NFL owners are alarmed, quote unquote, at the state of negotiations with the NFL Referees Association, the NFLRA, and have authorized staff members to begin hiring and onboarding replacement officials. We've seen replacement players Shout out to Keanu Reeves. And we now see replacement potential officials here. The NFL began compiling a list of college-level officials to recruit earlier this month, and owners are expected to approve a sweeping set of replay enhancements to support replacement officials in preseason and regular season games. A league source said that training of the new replacement officials begins May 1st. The opportunity to reach an agreement with our current union becomes a bigger challenge just from simple economics, is what someone has said. I cannot, this is the quote I'm seeing. I cannot, this is not my source, so I can't say if it's true or false. I'm just looking at what I'm reading here this morning and giving you some thoughts. In a statement to multiple media outlets, NFL RA Executive Director Scott Green called out league sources for putting out false and misleading information. Quote, "The bottom line is our officials work for the wealthiest sports league in America with profits that far exceed any of the others. That's normally a point of pride for the NFL. However, our officials are substantially undercompensated when compared to baseball and basketball umpires and referees. Our officials also aren't provided the health care benefits that those at 345 Park Avenue have." End quote. So Murph, we may see new officials in the NFL if they can't get it together.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen this once before. We know how this story plays out, and it was not. They didn't do a very good job of it. I think the steps that the NFL is going to be taking to prevent that is much better.
Mm-hmm.
But the simple answer is this: pay your damn refs. It's not. It's really not that difficult. But we saw the replacement refs in 2011, something like that. It's early 2010s is what it was. And obviously that did not go very well. The famous Fail Mary, at the end of the Packers game. But, I mean, if they're going to train these guys a little better and bring in more replay opportunities for this, then all right, I guess that's a better plan.
Yeah.
If you are going to have to use replacement referees, but I think the simple answer is to just not have to use replacement referees at all.
Yeah.
You see what Major League Baseball umpires get paid. I guess you could argue they do 162 games. These guys only do 18, plus maybe the postseason. But at the same time, you need to take care of these guys. Otherwise, you're going to lose them.
Yeah. No, I mean, they're going to have to figure it out. Listen, people want to be compensated, and I understand, right? Company makes more money. Don't claim poverty in those moments. Again, to go full circle of what we talked about earlier, some people are rich because they invest well and they're smart with their money, and some people are rich because they're frugal and they don't ever spend it. So we'll see what happens with the NFL. We know they make a lot of money, so we'll see how they treat their officials. And we officially will welcome Gerry McNamara back to Syracuse today at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I will be there for the press conference, and I will be there for the press conference after the press conference. So I look forward to hanging out with y'all and getting to see Gerry and his wife and his kids and his mom and dad. I already asked mom and dad. I said, y'all came to the games when he was a player. You're going to be at the games now? They said, we will. So I'm very excited for that. Shout out to the family. Shout out to the McNamaras. And I'm just happy that I'm living here this morning with a return of the Mac. Murph, as always, I thank you for your time, and I will look forward to talking with you next Monday.
Of course, my friend.
That coming from Murph one more time here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Thank you for being with us and for hanging out where sports meets life. We're up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around the globe on YouTube.com and Facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT and on WakeUpCallDT.Podbean.com, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time and beyond. And, of course, you can find us on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. Thanks to our incredible partners. Support them at Great Lakes Honda City, Carvel, DeWitt, Mon Paz, the snack capital of the world, the Wildcat Sports Pub, GG Cards and Breaks, Pizza Man, K9 Camp Dog Daycare, Brian's Landing, Myers Creek, Game Point Sports Complex, Mother's Cupboard, Chick-fil-A Cicero, Avicoli's, K9 Campground Dog Boarding, Chick-fil-A in DeWitt, Willow Rock Brewing Company, and the Willow Rock Pizza Pub. And, of course, we are the exclusive multimedia market partner of your Binghamton University Bearcats. The Bearcats are with us every Tuesday during Bearcat time at 10 a.m. Eastern time. Find the Bearcats there, and you can also find them by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find our Binghamton playlist. The Bearcats are also on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage, and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to binghamtonbearcats.com and go Bearcats. I want to thank you all for being a part of the show, as always, here inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Go and drive home your first ride or your next ride by going to 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York, and online at greatlakeshondacity.com. Thanks to Murph. Thanks to you. I'll see you at Jerry's press conference. Rockin' number 3 here today with love and respect to the man that helped my city win a national championship. Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. As always, from the Great Lakes Honda City Studios, we say, God bless, no stress. Do your best. We'll talk soon.